Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show. MinnMax is a place about games, friends, getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by one Kyle Hilliard.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you. We're joined by one Jacob Geller.
It's an honor for you to welcome me as well.
Thank you. I feel the same way. And we are truly honored, not these frickin' fake honors, honored to be joined by one Ryan Payton, everybody, from Camouflage.
Hey.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for making the time in your busy schedule. You're over in Japan, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the founder, studio director of Camouflage. You might recognize his voice if you've played a lot of Metal Gear Solid 4, and you remember that podcast that was baked into Metal Gear Solid 4. That was Ryan Payton hosting the Kojima Productions podcast. So we couldn't ask for a better person to join us on this episode to unpack Metal Gear Solid Delta. So thank you, sir.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to play an updated version of my favorite video game of all time.
Perfect. And you have some insight on the inside of Kojima Productions I want to unpack here. But that is not all. This episode is going to move on beyond that, because then we're getting the game of the show for Gamescom 2025. We have Janet and Ana Diaz joining us. They were out in Germany last week, so they're going to be unpacking the highlights, the best games they played there overall. We're going to talk about a bunch of fun stuff, the Resident Evil Requiem, Phantom Blade Zero, Onimusha Way of the Sword, a bunch of fun stuff there. Then back half of the show, of course, we have great questions submitted on Patreon. If you enjoy this show, any help spreading the word about MinnMax is appreciated. There's two N's in MinnMax. And if you like it, you can always subscribe to the podcast version as well on your favorite podcast app. Help spread the word that way. We appreciate it. Leave us a review. Couple things. Table setting. We're not talking about Silksong on this episode. Probably on next week's episode, we'll talk about Silksong. Other games, we are backed up. We have so many good games to talk about. Discounty is like a grocery store sim game that Haley is really into. I know Leo's going to jump into. Sarah's really looking forward to it. We'll talk about that next week. Luminez Arise. There's a demo right now out on PS5. It is truly fantastic. Hey, Jacob, you remember when we played like Tetris Effect and you said, God, I could go for one of these like every couple of years. You know that feeling?
I've played it.
Oh, you played the demo too?
And SGF. Have you played? Do they have that the chameleon rave level in it? Oh, baby. That's the stuff.
The aggressive chameleon level. Yes, that's out on PS5. You're going to check out that demo. We'll talk about that more in the future when it comes
also
out.
Also on Steam as well.
Also on
PC,
Steam.
I've been playing on my Steam Deck.
Hell yeah. There we go. And then Shinobi Art of Vengeance. We'll talk about more next week. But Jacob Geller, somebody who loved Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Shinobi, what do you think about this?
I've been like, oh, there's another one of these, and you have to trust me. It's also really good. It's maybe better.
Really?
Yeah, and Jacob, it sucks. We don't make the rules, but you have to pick one. I'm sorry, you have to pick one and kill the other one. Sorry.
I'd be picking Shinobi.
Really?
No offense,
wow.
Ragebound, but Shinobi's. Whew.
All right, we'll talk about that more next week as well. A lot of fun stuff to get to. Okay, Metal Gear Solid Delta. Let's get to the biggie here. We have Ryan as a guest, so let's jump right into this stuff. Now, I will say, before we let Ryan unload all of his thoughts on this game, we are doing the deepest dive on Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is the best, most thorough discussion about games on the internet, is the way we like to bill it. And so we're creating a 3-part game club discussion for Metal Gear Solid Delta. But the cool thing is the game is so faithful to 3 that also if you just have an old version of 3 on PS2 or 3DS or the HD Collection, Master Collection Volume 1, all that fun stuff, you can jump in and play any of them and play along with us and submit your thoughts. Those are going to be airing on MinnMax's YouTube channel and the bonus podcast feed. And if you support us at even the $2 tier on Patreon, you can submit your thoughts and we'll read your thoughts on Metal Gear Solid 3 during that discussion. But, Sir Ryan Payton, thank you for being here. So it's an odd thing, right? Because like we associate you so much with Metal Gear, and Metal Gear Solid 3 is your favorite game of all time, but you're in that odd situation of like you joined Kojima Productions before Subsistence shipped, but just before it shipped? Like how long were you actually...
I'm impressed that you remember that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got it. Yeah, so like how long were you working there before Subsistence actually shipped?
So my first day on the job, I want to say was probably late August, early September of 2005. So we're in the final months of development on Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. It just so happened that the team was working on the first real trailer for Metal Gear Solid 4. So that was one of the first things I saw on my first day at work, was like a work in progress where the trailer was running at maybe 4 frames a second.
Oh, wow.
And it's really interesting.
Is that like Snake had like the gun in his mouth and stuff, or was that like a later trailer?
That was a later trailer. The first one was where he was in kind of a similar room, and and they got Otacon as the Mark II robot, and they got the gecko kind of coming by in the window nearby. It's a really cool trailer, built off of a PlayStation 3 dev kit that was the size of like a refrigerator. So my first day was, I was excited about that, but also it was just so surreal to watch 150 people just kind of in the final stages of subsistence and really going hard into and testing the 3D camera. So for those at home who may not remember everything that happened back in 2005, is that Metal Gear Solid 3 first shipped, I think in 2004, with that top-down kind of classic Metal Gear Solid camera, which even at the time when the game came out in 2004 felt pretty antiquated and a little bit frustrating that you couldn't like control the camera like you would on GTA 3, for example. So that was one of the big features, amongst other kind of quality of life improvements, additional content that Konami and Kojima Productions put into Subsistence. But that 3D camera was fascinating because I saw 150 people just working through the game and rotating the camera at every single angle they could because they had to build more content because with the original you couldn't see so much of the jungle, for example, but now you can see everything, and so they're scrambling to like make it all look good and make some kind of tweaks, and so that's the context. Like I didn't really impact much of the game aside from a very, very few things.
Which version is on the Master Collection?
It's Subsistence, I believe.
Okay. Because that's the one that I played. But as you were saying, I was like, oh my God, did I rotate the camera?
Yeah,
I'm sure you did, yeah.
Probably just in like normal gameplay. But you would, Jacob, you would remember if you were playing the top down because it was the sense of like it's like maybe like horse with blinders. You just didn't really get a full sense of your environment.
Right.
I remember playing Subsistence for the first time and immediately being like, oh, I can't go back. There's no going back to like the original version, and I never have.
But the cool thing is Delta has the legacy mode. Like if you want to play more of that top-down perspective again and kind of have more of the old school appeal for this entire thing. But like I just can't imagine the situation of they probably had like a cool launch party for Subsistence. Do you remember any specifics about that?
Yeah, we did have a launch party, but it wasn't that big of a deal, I think, because the team was just so focused on Metal Gear Solid 4, which is this massive project.
Right.
But I know that they really felt strongly that they wanted to make good on Metal Gear Solid 3, which was such a great game, but just had this one obvious problem, and they really did a great job of addressing it, I think.
Right. But you get to like celebrate the launch, kind of relaunch of your favorite game of all time from within the halls of the studio making it. Like not many people get that perspective. It's so wild.
I mean, that's why I always tell people I don't know what I did to deserve these blessings, man. I mean, like seriously, you think about it. Like growing up, my favorite game at the time was Metal Gear Solid 1, and in my parents' basement, high school, playing the game. Would never even thought that just how many years later? What was it? 5 years later? 6 years later? I'd be working on the end of development for Metal Gear Solid 3 and then full development for Metal Gear Solid 4.
Yeah.
Just like I'm so lucky.
Yeah, it's impossible. So Metal Gear Solid Delta rolls around. You boot this game up on Steam. You start playing it. Is it emotional? Do you feel intertwined with it, or are you coming at it from a fan? Like, do you feel the sweat and blood of the team members as you're playing this thing?
There's a lot of thoughts. It's exhausting for me to play through this, and so for everybody, for folks at home, I only played through the first kind of what we call the virtuous mission, kind of like the prologue, which is about two hours or so. Mm-hmm. I only had that amount of time to play. So, but it's just there's so many thoughts going through my mind. It brings me back to playing Subsistence back at the office and giving feedback and working with the team to ship that. But lots of memories kind of flooding back. I know so many of these lines of dialogue that I haven't heard in a long time. I know them by heart, and so I can even put it down. I know exactly what's going to be said in some of these long, kind of like flash 2D sequences where they talk a lot. I forgot how long those things were.
The archival stuff.
But I also look at it from a developer lens, and I think that is a thing that my mind was racing throughout the whole time, which is how do you approach this interesting problem? which is you're going to remake or you're going to re-release Metal Gear Solid 3. How far do you go?
Right.
How faithful are you? How much do you change? How much do you not change? And by the way, you're putting together a team. Okamura-san, who now leads Metal Gear, who's a good friend of mine, so I should probably be open about that too. But what the challenge that he has, I don't have a team. I have to make a team. We've never shipped this before. We've never done Unreal before. And yeah, that all the decisions, all the big ones and the small ones, I'm analyzing each one. And I got to say, for the most part, I'm really impressed with like the decisions that they did make. I think it's really hard to land in that spectrum of how far do you go.
Right. And just being unbelievably faithful. Like that, the basic idea of it, when there were rumors for so long that this remake was happening, you're right. Like this could be a complete overhaul just with the core idea of Metal Gear Solid 3 and make it more of a survival experience, less, I don't know, kitschy, arcadey survival, which I think is kind of where this game landed, especially in retrospect for where we're at now in the game industry and just kind of the rise of more hardcore survival experiences. But yeah, I'm curious, Jacob and Kyle, you finished it already. Like overall, what did you think of Delta?
I really liked it a lot. I reviewed it over at Game Informer and I gave it a 9. It is what I wanted from a remake, where it's almost a little bit of warts and all. I wouldn't have wanted them to like radically change or edit the story. When they announced it, and I was kind of shocked that they decided not to like re-record the dialogue.
Right.
But playing it, I'm like, that is exactly the right call.
Yep.
I think that was the right call, and like I just find it much more playable. Like it feels more like closer to like a third person, like a modern third person shooter. And then also like a big thing for me is when I played it originally, I was always frustrated by the camo system of like having to go into the menu and change the camo. So like it's kind of like a small thing in the grand scheme, but like being able to quick swap camo makes it a much smoother experience for me. So I really like it a lot. I've been New Game Plusing it a little bit. Like I went back through. I got the Xbox version today, and I was playing the Bomberman mode and stuff like that. Like I like it a lot. I'm very happy with it.
Hang on, real quick. Non-important things. The Bomberman mode. Is it like you're playing Bomberman? Are you like blowing up bombs and it's making like the whole cross pattern and stuff?
There was a trailer that shows that there is like an overhead level or something like that. But if you can imagine Snake versus Monkey, where you're walking around and shooting the monkeys and grabbing them.
Yeah.
Just imagine that you had infinite grenades and you're throwing grenades at Bombermen. And when your bombs explode, they do the sort of four-way explosion. And then they can throw bombs at you too. And then there's one Bomberman that looks like Old Snake, actually. Kind of.
Oh, funky, yeah.
And he's like running around and he'll actually hit you and like knock you down and stuff like that.
Because I think he was in Bomberman, one of like the Switch launch Bomberman. They had like that Old Snake cameo in that, and like Pyramid Head Bomberman, a bunch of other weird Konami stuff backed in there. But
I do like that it is a fair bit different than Snake versus Monkey. Like it does stand apart. It's cool.
Yeah, just on like easy use and how they're modernizing Delta here. Like, yeah, the biggest thing is like, oh my God, not having the items and weapons on L1 and R1, but to have that on left and right D-pad, it feels like hypocrisy. You can't do it. It's you shouldn't be able to do it as a Metal Gear fan. But like, oh, you get used to it pretty quick. It's totally fine. And then having that camo, just up on the D-pad is huge. And then having the codec just down on the D-pad, it's like these are really smart little decisions they made, I think.
I wish you all could see me on my on my controller. I'm like, how do I changed my weapons?
Yeah, I know.
Trying to hit every single button. Were you there too? Yep. Yeah,
it took a little while. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's smart overall. Yeah. Jacob, you seem less in love with Delta, or where are you at? As somebody who just played 3 for the first time, like what, last year?
Yeah. So I have way less nostalgia for it than you all, and I've been having a weird time with it, and I've been thinking a lot. Game? No, Kai. This is
Kojima games I have normal times with.
This is I've been thinking a lot about the Blue Point Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Yes.
Because that is, for me, Shadow of the Colossus, one of my favorite games of all time. I think that is kind of the closest analog to this, of like exactly the same, just updating the graphics and giving you a few small quality of life things, but like that's what it's doing. And I generally like that, the Blue Point remake of that. And I think this game feels really disjointed to me in the ways that it has and hasn't been remade. And I think part of it is just that Shadow of the Colossus is so much more of a minimalist game that like the differences between games now and then, whatever, they're not as noticeable when you're playing Shadow. But like, I have a hard time with I think a lot of the things with the narrative worked through the kind of, even if I'm not playing this game in 2004, I know that I am playing a game from 2004. Yeah. You know, I'm more willing to put myself in that headspace. But like, the pacing of the opening is all over the place, parentheses negative, you know, and there are these things where it's like, you will have this beautiful, lavish cutscene of like Snake doing a halo jump. And I'm not the first person to note this, but like, it's amazing how these cutscenes were directed in 2004, because it seems like if you didn't know, you would say they're doing all this stuff to show off the Unreal like graphics now. You know, they're doing these close-ups and the slow-mo and these like, you know, really granular details to show how good the game looks now. But that's, you know, it's exactly how the cutscenes were directed before. And I think that's awesome. But then you get to this like long conversation that's not even a codec conversation. It's just between like two PNGs, you know, and I was like, would it have diminished the game to replace this with like a lightly animated conversation? Right. And I think it's just like, because the game looks so beautiful and because it feels, you know, now it feels largely like a, you know, a modern game that you're playing, things about just like the pacing and even the literal dialogue coming out of people's mouths, it just feels a little, it feels off, you know. It feels kind of unbalanced, that part of the aesthetic has been modernized so much, but then the like groundwork of the game is still in 2004. And I'm struggling with that more than I have with other remakes. And I don't know if it's just because I don't have the nostalgia for this game as much, or if it's because Snake Eater is like, it's so much more complex than, you know, Shadow of the Colossus or whatever, that these things just kind of rise to the surface.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like Jacob, was really like speaking to what my experience was playing it last night too, where there's I won't spoil the cutscene, but it's in that first kind of prologue. And I was taken aback by Jacob, even with all my nostalgia, like how the pacing of some of these scenes is just not very tight. And yes, I think I have to imagine the dev team looked at this and like, well, we could tighten this up. There are like weird, awkward pauses where nothing kind of happens. And it's not even just like the disjointed, like, okay, now it's this type of media that we're going to explain the story bit. And now it's going to be like a great looking cinematic. And now it's going to be a codec call. And it all can feel pretty jarring, and when they're kind of swapping between these different ways of doing storytelling. But even in a great looking cutscene, it really does need a lot of editing. That was a critique back in 2004, but I think it's even more prevalent now when you play it. But I have to imagine the dev team's like, well, if we tighten up this scene, should we tighten up other scenes? And then it's this whole, you're opening up Pandora's box. Not making excuses for them, but I think that's why I'm just like, I find it all so fascinating about what do they choose to tackle and what they don't choose to tackle.
Yeah, it is. It's like, it is a really, I can imagine just those conversations. And, you know, when you compare this to something like last year's Silent Hill 2, which was like, that is, you know, faithful to like the tone, but like functionally a completely different game that's also called Silent Hill 2 versus this. And it's like, I don't, you know, I don't, I think they made a fine decision in doing this, but I am kind of feeling the just kind of like, I've played Metal Gear Solid 3. This is that, you know, like, I don't know if I'm going to finish it just because I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of it other than just getting to replay a good game.
But the fact that you just played 3, I think it's really interesting perspective. Whereas like for me, like I haven't played all the way through 3 since Subsistence's launch, you know? So it's been like 20 years really. Like I've started it a couple times, but going all the way through it, like for a game that I love so much, it makes me so happy. And it's so funny where it's like, everything about the intro and the pacing, totally hear you. But the emotions that I had while playing through that, I'm like, no better intro than this. This is getting me
Right,
so
I mean, that
pumped.
makes
I'm
sense.
so ready.
Like, what if we were doing the deepest dive on just the version of 3 that's on the Master Collection? Like,
Right.
you would probably be feeling
Yeah.
exactly the same way. And so then it's just like, why, what are we earning more with this like incredibly shiny new coat of paint if like the things that you're feeling aren't like, oh my God, I've never seen Snake's face in that resolution before. It's just like, I love the feeling of this game, which is, the same then and now.
But the gameplay improvements, I think, go a long ways, even as, relatively minor as they are in the big picture. But it is funny, like how the way they're framing it, where you talk about how you have that in mind. If you're going back and playing the HD version, you're thinking this is a game from 2004. I'd have to imagine, here's a nonsense number, but 80% of the people playing this game at least know that this is also a 2004 game. So they also have a little bit of that, they're doing the translation in their heads of like, okay, I can excuse this, I can excuse this. But it's so funny that the way they frame it within the game is that this is a game that's based on Metal Gear Solid 3. Is the way they keep rephrasing it. It's like, it is just Metal Gear Solid 3. And this is, right, maybe you can help out with this. And, Kyle, I know you went to a review event and talked to the developers and stuff a little bit there, but like, I understand it's rebuilt in Unreal and it looks good, but like the side-by-side shots, it is like identical animation. So is what they did, can you take like the animation framework from the original engine and then they're just putting new textures over everything? Is that what's happening here?
Absolutely. The whole original game is powering this version.
Okay.
And it's I'm not a highly technical person, but it's probably that the original Metal Gear Solid 3 subsistence was the code is probably embedded into the baseline of Unreal. And then Unreal references it for various things, including the animations for the cinematics and many other things. So there's a way to do that where you can kind of do like a hybrid approach, and I think that's what they did with this title.
Okay, if you really want to dork out, look at like some comparison YouTube videos where they're doing side by sides, because it is interesting to see when things don't line up. Like Snake's reaction to boss on the bridge, the close up, they changed the animation there to be a little more expressive than it was in the original. So it's just like certain shots, they tweak the animations a little bit. Really? Yeah.
So you're talking about like when he does that goofy reaction to the boss's line there. I don't know if I really want to spoil it, but it was funny. My takeaway from that was, wow, now that I can see this in a higher fidelity, that's a really goofy animation that I probably would have complained about. But did they add that?
Yeah, I think they tweaked it. Yeah, that was the one that stood out to me. I was just looking at like scrubbing through a quick comparison. I was like, okay, some shots they are doing slightly different animations here overall. And I don't know if you had the same thought too. We talked about it in the deepest dive, but there's stuff like Ocelot where I'm like, oh, I think they made him look more like his older model than the original Metal Gear Solid 3. That seems like the biggest facial leap so far that I've noticed in these new versions of the faces.
Yeah, that's one thing I have yet to talk to Okamura-san about. I've been waiting for the game to come out for him to have a little bit more time. But one of the top 5 things I want to talk to him about is the process that I would assume the team went through when it came to the facial models of all the characters. Is that as a hardcore fan, when I first saw those initial trailers, I thought, okay, like I can see what they're doing, some really good stuff here, but that does not look like Snake.
Interesting.
And then with each trailer, he was looking more and more and more like I would imagine Snake would have looked like at a higher fidelity. And I don't think they got there like 100%, but I think they made a lot of improvements. But for me, it's like it's interesting when you've got like this higher fidelity. Like the boss doesn't look like the boss to me, but it's almost like a different actor is playing this character that you know.
Yep.
And they got pretty close. But then Ocelot, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see Ocelot, and so it's and Volgan looks very different to me. I'm not saying that any of them look bad. It's just it's this weird thing that your brain does because we recognize people's faces to a high degree compared to other elements of people's bodies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and there is there is that level, that thing going on throughout the whole game with like what has changed, where it's like, 3 or Snake Eater original, whatever, had that like extreme yellow filter over like the whole game, which was like maybe not the most appealing aesthetic, but like it is if you're looking at a picture of Snake Eater, you can tell that you're looking at a picture of Snake Eater in like 0.1 seconds because that is what that game looks like. And this, it's like if Snake is not in the shot and it was just of a jungle, it could look like a lot of Unreal games. You know, that
100%.
It has lost a little, and I've seen a couple comparisons of some later shots that, and I haven't got there myself, so I don't, I don't want to, make a concrete claim or whatever, but like, it seems like there's a little atmosphere that's being lost here, because some of those, like, what we might look at now as like lighting limitations were actually stylized for a purpose, and I feel the same way about, like, again, Shadow of the Colossus, like the skies
too, could have been technical limitations that led to like a
yes, totally, but that is like,
only there was someone we could ask.
Well, if it's Shinkawa, right? And so he's very bold. He's one of the best, arguably the best art director out there, I would say. And I felt the same way, Jacob, where they didn't take that bold of a swing with the art direction that the original did. But again, it's me just looking through the lens of like, how far do we go? How far do we go? Like, how bold do we want to go? Because I don't know if they would be able to replicate it to like 1-to-1 on that front.
Yeah, maybe.
But like, do they take
like
a different swing here? Like, there was a couple of shots in the original I thought, like, from a lighting perspective, felt pretty flat. And I was disappointed but also understanding that they didn't want to take a big swing and quote unquote fix this shot from a lighting perspective, because that's not what the original had. So again, it gets back to how far do you go? But I think it's also a critique of Shadow of the Colossus from Blue Point as well. It's like, how bold do you want to go? With the look and feel of this thing, beyond what was maybe in the original or different than the original.
Because it's like, if you're making a modern stylizing choice that is going to be a departure, it's like they can't stylize it in the same way that the PS2 was stylized, but then it'll be something different, and it would maybe be distracting from, whatever the remake is trying to do.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong, but they seem to make a really big swing in the beginning that we were maybe too obsessed with on the opening episode of The Deepest Dive. But the scene on the bridge where the Sorrow comes out and she's like, "It's raining blood." And it's literally raining blood in Metal Gear Solid Delta. And I went back and looked at like the original. It's like, it's just raining. So that seems like, did they think that they weren't capable of making the rain red in the original? Like, that seems like a radical move to actually literally have it be raining blood in what I thought was just a metaphorical sentiment.
Right. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that they weren't able to kind of just like tap Hideo Kojima on the shoulder and ask about, like, what was the intent here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you have any sense of just how much of that original team is there? Like, did people that work on Subsistence still work on this one?
Just a handful of folks. But Okamura-san, who was I worked so closely with back when I was in Konami. He was the project lead for portable ops for the 2 Metal Gear Acid games, for the digital graphic novels. So a lot of the portable content. Yeah. He's back there from like Zoe 2 and so yeah, he's a legend, and yeah, he stayed with Konami when the vast majority of the original Metal Gear staff went with Hideo to the new Kojima Productions company. Okay. And then also I think I'm not exactly sure what his title is now on this game. But Korakado-san, who was the lead dev for a lot of the original Metal Gear games, is also still at Konami and worked on Delta. So those are the 2 that I'm familiar with that were part of the original dev team. But beyond that, it's a lot of new people, a lot of young people that they brought together to build this game. And it's pretty awesome to see what they're able to do as a relative, basically a new team.
It is like, it's an interesting, the framing of the new team makes the project kind of make sense internally, because it's like, okay, if this is a team that you want to eventually maybe make a new Metal Gear Solid game, it really makes sense as like a very intense training exercise to be like, trace this one, figure out how it works by making a game that already exists, and you can always like look at what Absolutely. The kind of correct thing to do is. And so it, in the same way that we've talked about like The Last of Us remake being because the rest of Naughty Dog needs something to do while they crack the next story, this is like, we need to teach people how to make a Metal Gear Solid game. What better way than having them make a game that already exists?
It's super smart, and it's what I wish I would have pushed for when I joined 343 as like employee number 11. which was, hey, let's not do Halo 4. Let's not do a sequel to one of the biggest video games of all time as a new team where 98% of us have never worked in Bungie's engine. Let's build a team of 250 people and like, let's remake Halo 1. Mm-hmm. Let's get familiar with it. Let's get some confidence. And then we build a brand new sequel. Now, granted, I think the team there did a great job with Halo 4, especially given like the task at hand with no familiarity. But yeah, I think Jacob, like that's why I think like I find it so fascinating what Konami's doing with these teams. Both it's like, well, it's also external devs too. We don't take any away from Virtuous or the Bloober team for the Silent Hill 2 remake. But really, I think a really smart approach. We're going to get back into AAA games. We're not going to make new versions of these with brand new sequels, which is so hard to do right out of the gate. We're going to get familiar. We're going to get our footing, and then we'll see where they go from there. Do they do original title? I mean, what the heck? What are the? By the way, this is one thing I wanted to ask you guys. What do you think they're going to remake next if they do remake something? And then what do you call it?
I mean,
where?
Well, they probably. I would put my chips on the original Metal Gear Solid.
I would too.
And it would just be called Metal Gear Solid Delta.
What?
Delta? So then the Delta brand. Well, but this is also
but this one isn't called Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta.
Yeah,
exactly.
The Delta's replacing
Snake Eater.
Wait, okay.
There's no way they're going to call it.
That's so. Why would they would just call it Metal Gear Solid? Because they just want it to be a clean entry point. So if they're remaking the first one, which I think it's a huge ask, but that would be probably the smartest swing. I mean, my heart of hearts wants them to do Metal Gear 1 and 2 as like combine those storylines.
Yeah, I would like that. Yeah,
I think that'd be the coolest thing. But that would require so many creative liberties. They'd have to feel pretty goddamn confident. Like.
And also, like, there are so many bits from those games that are just in MGS1. You know,
right.
like Solid 1 is kind of making all those in 3D anyway.
Yeah, but Ryan, we don't matter. What would you want them to remake next or do next?
My assumption is that they would tackle 2, because I think 1 is going to be really, really hard. You can't just give the bits from Metal Gear Solid 1 and feed it into Unreal and do the same thing you did with Delta here. Yeah. You could do that with 2. But I mean, what a fascinating, wouldn't it be so much fun to be in those meetings about, okay, I hope this is super successful for them. Like, okay, we're back and we got to start doing pre-production for our next title. And I have to imagine you guys are right. It's between 1 and 2. And I think 1 is a much, much bigger swing. And are they ready?
Why is 1 the bigger swing? Is it just because the gameplay would need more adjustment, or because it's like not long enough, or what?
Yeah,
what needs work?
It's just they would have to like literally remake it. They wouldn't. Besides the dialogue, which also would be probably fairly problematic, and perhaps recorded at just too low of a bit rate, but maybe they could fix it.
Well, when they did Twin Snakes, they re-recorded everything for that.
Oh, that's a good point.
And that's why I agree with you, Kyle. That like I think it was a better move not to re-record. As much as I'd love all those actors to get another great payday, but they did lose some of the essence of the original when they redid that with Twin Snakes. But like the animations we were talking about, the cinematics, like people are doing side by side comparisons with the original and now with Delta, and 98% of it's the exact same. It's because they have the animation data that they can then plug into Unreal to then play back these cinematics, for example. They don't have that for Metal Gear Solid 1. It's like it's not like it doesn't have skeletons. It doesn't have like a system that they can kind of plug the bits into to have it play back. Yeah. They would have to just have like a monitor next to them and go, okay. And also the models are so low. Like,
the animation would just be someone's head like booping up and
South Parking around.
Yeah, there's no facial performance, right? Like so. Anyway, they would have to like literally redo it, and they probably would rebuild it off of the Delta engine. So, but regardless of what they do, they probably would either do MGS2 and build off of the Delta engine, and then or they would remake 1. And literally remake 1 and redo every single model and have to recapture every single cinematic.
That is the ultimate fork in the road. That's so fun to think about. You're right, because it's that idea of like 2 would maybe be easier technically, but it's such a messy jumping on point to say, all right, we got Metal Gear Solid DOS, whatever fancy Latin term they want to put at the end of it, right? But it's like asking people to jump right into Metal Gear Solid 2. That's too messy. But then if you do 1, then it's too much of a technical hurdle, but it's the cleanest like commercial on-ramp possible. And so Oh, I couldn't make that call.
Four.
Good stuff.
Yeah, just,
Four.
sure.
Well,
Just
just like
Remake
four.
those live action commercials.
Just bring 4 to a modern platform, frankly. Just get it off the PS3, you know?
yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah,
need
okay.
That's interesting.
overhaul.
Maybe they would do something like that.
They have to. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. While we're asking questions to a insider here, my very naive understanding of 4 has always been that like I picture it as like a strand of hair wrapped around the most complicated like console infrastructure. You know, that the PS3 was just such like a knotty system that it's like really hard to pull things off of it, especially something as like made to spec as 4. Is that true? Like, would it be hard to just like put 4 on a disc and get it running on a new console?
Absolutely. No, it is. Could it be done? Absolutely, it can be done. But compared to your normal PlayStation 3 to modern platform transition or porting or whatever whatever you want to call it, 4 is I think would be really high up there in terms of the complexity of the PlayStation 3 architecture. And a lot of the choices that the team had to make at the time, they felt that they had to make at the time, and which led to them going dark for how long, Ben? For Fox Engine and ahead of Ground Zeroes, where for the first time the team truly did made a new engine. Because up until that point through 4, it was kind of building off of the same old tech, and you can see a lot of the pain points that resulted from that, including minutes-long loading screens on Metal Gear Solid 4. But then they shipped Metal Gear Solid 5 on the same hardware on PlayStation 3 with open world, with no big long load times.
I think about that game being on PS3
as well.
Makes my head explode. That MGS5 like ran well on a PS3.
Oh, it's a marvel. And in fact, I hate this. Sorry, this is my one and only shameless plug. But when we worked on Batman Arkham Shadow for Quest 3 last year, and the team told me we couldn't do real-time shadows on the hardware, I said, I had somebody bring in an Xbox 360 and a copy of Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, and I walked them through the intro of that, and I said, why could they do this on this hardware, the Xbox 360, which is far less performant than a Quest 3?
Right.
And they said, because of all these reasons. I'm like, well, can we do all these things? And we mimicked a lot of what they did to bring real-time shadows to Batman. And but it's really just a testament to that team. The fact that they got those 2 games running on PlayStation 3 is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's impossible. So I am curious about if you had any insight into like the archival process. We're talking about like, oh, it's awesome. They had the original lines of dialogue and raw recordings from Metal Gear Solid 3 they could use for this. And I think it sounds good. They had to re-record a couple tidbits here and there. But like, do you have any insight into just like, is there just a warehouse when you're done with the game, when you're done with Metal Gear Solid 4, do they just take all of that raw data, take a couple computers and kind of lock them down, put them in ice and store them away? Or like, how do you store all this stuff?
Yeah, that unfortunately, I just don't know. I wasn't that keen on that side of things. I think now being older, I would have been really adamant about it, because we lose so much of like these amazing titles, especially out of Japan. It feels like where people get thrown into different projects, and now the source code is lost for all these big games. But you have the added complication of these Metal Gear games where, what is it, like 97% of the team leaves the company, and then they go to Hideo's new studio, a new company, and all that institutional knowledge about where everything is stored. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it gets so strange. The other technical question I had for you is licensing real world clips. Were you involved in any of that stuff? Because it's such a mess. And for a lot of these in Delta, it is like the roughest part of the game is when, they have kind of the motion graphics of like, hey, here's some old JFK stuff and some footage of a tank. And a lot of it just looks kind of like up-resed and smudged, and it doesn't look great. But is that just really tricky to keep the rights around for that? Or like, why not just get new footage and redo all that stuff?
I felt the same way. I was like, oh, interesting. They weren't able to get either higher res versions of these Getty images, and I think I can say that because I believe that they're credited in the game. But it's through a license through Getty that owns the rights to a lot of this historical footage. But I remember, I can't remember specifics, but I remember there being some issues with the archival footage Even back in the day, having to get like we would sometimes do flashbacks in Metal Gear Solid 4 to moments from Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And there were some issues, I want to say, where we got the license for one version of the game, but we weren't able to get it again. And so, yeah, it's a pretty complicated thing. And also, can I just zoom out and say, I mean, I love like the alternative history and how like they're so smart and they've read the history about like the Cold War, but then it's like actually the Cuban Missile Crisis wasn't about removing removing the ICBMs out of Turkey.
Right.
It was for this scientist that's building this new Metal Gear.
Hell yeah.
And I just love that, but it's all taken so seriously, and it's like showing footage from actually like Khrushchev and AJFK. It's so good.
Okay, here's a question for the newcomers that were playing this game for the deepest dive. They were having a tough time with the tone of like, should I be laughing at this? How serious is the team taking this? And Kyle had the right take, I think, of just like, it's like an action movie. There's just you take it. It's a little bit tongue in cheek, all this stuff. Do you have any sense just being in the halls of how serious all of this very serious dialogue should be received in Metal Gear Solid 3?
So people who are way more familiar with Japanese culture, I happen to be an expert, but they would say that some would say, and I've heard this from like the actual Japanese players of Metal Gear, that was sometimes a critique of Hideo's direction from going way back, which is he's originally from the Kansai area, the kind of the western part of the country, that like the roughest equivalent is like maybe like this from the South in the United States, for example. So they've got a different accent, and they're known to be more extroverted and kind of a little more silly in their humor. And a lot of comedians in Japan come from Osaka, Kobe area, which is where he's from, and that's kind of like his style of humor. And so even like Japanese people will critique and say, hey, the tone is kind of all over the place here. Like, why are you getting so silly here? And then the other people come and say, well, that's kind of his style of, that's the kind of humor that he's kind of grew up with. Right. But again, I'm not representing him. This is just my interpretation over the years that I worked on the project.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful. I mean, speaking of which, like, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, Metal Gear Stupid, like those short films, they're all in Delta? They recreated those?
They didn't recreate them. They're
it's just
in
the
there,
raw.
but
okay.
they're in there, and they're like in their original resolution, and then they did do a few new ones, which I only unlocked like one of them, I think. Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, Jacob, did you ever watch those Metal Gear Stupid clips?
No,
oh my god.
This sounds like a YouTube poop. Like I don't know what Metal Gear Stupid is.
It is amazing.
Or right at the same time as YouTube, maybe.
I mean, 2004 is pre-YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, it is just like a parody of certain scenes made by the developers throughout Metal Gear Solid 3. It is so good. Do you remember those, Ryan? Remember how absurd they are?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where I think Jacob was talking about how Naughty Dog's got this big animation team. Like, what are they doing while they're figuring out what Intergalactic is?
Right.
Okay, we'll redo The Last of Us Part 2, Part 1, and I'm 100% convinced that is exactly what happened with Subsistence and these kind of joke parody clips, is that you had a big animation team that really literally had nothing to do yet on Metal Gear Solid 4. They're waiting for the cinematics to get written and performed. And so, this is just them having fun. And so they're pretty silly. But I think, and I remember them getting posted like on IGN as like just like clips you can just download, right? Yeah, this is definitely pre-YouTube.
That's perfect. But I mean, I feel like we're kind of going down the rabbit hole. But I mean, just playing the game, Ryan, emotional, fascinating, strange, but other things that stand out to you that you wanted to scream about while playing Delta?
I just a lot of emotions, and look, I'm just I don't think people really appreciate the extent that what this team has probably gone through in terms of the studio's not run by Hideo Kojima anymore. His name is all over this game. His fingerprints are all over this game. And what do? Do you not just touch these games and bring them back to like kind of modernize them and try to bring them for a greater audience? Do you just like let it sit there? Or do you take a bold swing and you remake one of the most revered video games of all time, and you make a lot of calls? You're going to make some good calls, you're going to make some bad calls, but you're going to go for it. And I think that's exactly what this team did. And I think it's pretty remarkable considering that there was like basically no Metal Gear team, 5 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
And so honestly, like when I'm playing the game, I'm just so proud of like Okamura-san and Korikato-san and that new staff. I want to hang out with them. And I just want this to be super successful. They deserve it. I think everybody should play this game, despite it warts and all, which it has problems. But yeah, just I'm really rooting for this crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever knock on Konami's doors and say, "Hey, Camouflage could make a Metal Gear game"? If you ever want to,
I'd love to just talk and shop with them. I mean, I'll just say this is not like insider whatever, but I'll always tell them like, these games will play very good in VR, and I would love to play all of these games in VR, but I want to play basically every game in VR.
Especially like PS2 games in VR play so well. Like the RE4 VR, not the new RE4, the old one VR remake is awesome. And when that came out, I was like, we should do this with everything. Just
I agree, 100%.
It can run easily on the system. Throw it in there.
Yeah, Armature did a bang up job on that Resident Evil 4 request. I agree.
There was a mod that someone made where they had Metal Gear Solid 1 within 32-bit glory running in VR, and I was like, ooh, I want that.
I did show that to Okamura, said he hadn't seen it. I was like, because we were talking, he was like, oh yeah, it'd be pretty hard. I'm like, I don't know, like these guys did this with like the original graphics, but it's on the one hand it looks so rough, but on the other hand there's a magic, I think, of being so close to those pixels, and it's got a very unique aesthetic. I really wish that thing would just come out.
You should write an email, Ryan.
More emails.
Send a message.
That'll solve it.
Hey, I want everybody jumping in, with the magic of what we're doing over here. But it's not VR, not about meta, not about camouflage. It's about what these guys did with Metal Gear Solid Delta. And like I said, I'm just so enamored by what they're doing, and I can't wait to play through the whole thing again.
Yeah. And again, if you want a lot more Metal Gear talk than even we recorded here today, check out the Deepest Dive, MinnMax's channel here. You can subscribe and check that out on YouTube or in that bonus podcast feed if you're a Patreon supporter. Ryan, did it drive you nuts? I noticed there was a little bit of discussion around like the new Lego Batman game where people are finally like, oh, finally a new Arkham game is out. It's been like a decade. Hello. Where you were like, we released a new one last year in VR. If you noticed, it was quite good.
Yeah, I was so happy for that team too. It was like they at opening night live. I would have never thought a Lego Batman game would have shown so brightly in that show. So, and that game looks awesome, and I want to play it. and all those Arkham elements I think are really good. And intriguing, but I think they're pretty open about it, and people played it at Gamescom. They said like there's Arkham elements, but it's not like the Arkham sandbox, and the combat isn't as deep as you would get from these other. It's still a Lego game, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm always just kind of saying, hey, we made, like to your point, Ben, like we made Batman Arkham Shadow, and if you want a true Arkham game, I think we did a pretty good job with it when we shipped it last year, and we continued to update it all the way through February of this year.
Oh wow!
And then we're just really proud of the work that we did there. And for anybody who wants more Arkham and you haven't played it in VR, I highly recommend it. Yeah. Obviously, I'm going to recommend it, right?
Yeah, you did it, everybody. Awesome. Well, Ryan, thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate it. Anything else you're dying to say?
No, just keep up the great work, guys. Love what you're doing with the show. I appreciate like how critical you guys are, but respectful too. I think that's a lot of stuff that balance. Talk about the balance of like how do you balance a remake versus just a faithful thing. How do you balance critique with thinking just being respectful and good human beings? And I just really appreciate what you guys do on the show.
Oh, really appreciate it, man. Awesome. Hey, on that respectful note, do you now want to clap out along with Kyle and we can swap you out for somebody else?
Yes, can do.
All right. Bye, Ryan. Here we go. We have Janet Garcia joining the show.
Hello.
Hello. We have Ana Diaz, returning champion.
Hello. What's up?
Hello. Welcome. And Jacob Geller is still here, of course.
I'm still here.
I'm excited to unpack the Gamescom trip with you. I know on Bonus Pod, the Patreon exclusive podcast, you really went into a lot of detail about all the sights and sounds and other people's nudity occurring. That's all in the Bonus Pod if you want to unlock that. It was fun to hear you.
God, you listen to 5 minutes of Bonus Pod, you're already hearing about being around naked people. It's the most, you don't have to wait at all. It's the first thing.
Yeah.
We really blessed Haley on this episode.
Yeah. Or maybe Haley's just such a good interviewer. She knew how to like cut to the heart of it all.
She smelled nudity, and she got it out of you guys immediately. But congratulations on a big trip to Germany, big trip to Gamescom. You did it. Life goal unlocked, Janet.
Yeah, at least career life goals. Like I've been wanting to go to this convention forever. Everyone always talks about it being so like massive and such an interesting spectacle, and recommending it. So yeah, it was great to finally get to see what it was all about.
Yeah, and so it's in Cologne, Germany. I went back in 2013, but I have to imagine it's grown even a lot since then. And back then, it was like, this is the biggest thing I could imagine. So this year, yeah, it had, their official stats are it had 357,000 visitors from 128 countries, biggest trade show in the world for games. Did it feel like that, Anna? Were you pressed against the glass by the massive humanity through the halls, or like, what is that like?
I didn't feel exactly like I was being pressed against the glass.
Okay.
It was more like, wow, this feels like they just constructed an entire video game town and just like dropped it in the middle of Germany. The number of people was kind of overwhelming at first, but I think like for anyone who's been to like the Minnesota State Fair,
Right,
who's been like maybe to like a theme park on a crowded day, it kind of had like that sort of feeling, I would say.
right. Did you enjoy your time?
Yeah. I think it's it's fun. It's like definitely a lot of spectacle. It's definitely made to be kind of flashy, and it can be a little bit overstimulating, but also it's exciting. And I think that this convention center is like well set up to host this event.
Yeah.
And, we were there the first few days. We weren't there the busiest day. I imagine it would have felt pretty gnarly if we were there on Saturday.
Yeah.
So I am glad that like we get like the press and media time on the first day, and then the first few days, like especially if you go in the morning, it's really not so bad.
Yeah.
But I was pretty surprised. Like one day, Janet went a little bit earlier than me because I got a coffee with a developer, and I just went like only like an hour after her, and I had to like wait a considerable amount of time to like even like go. Like there are so many people that like the walkway was like a channel itself that was like limiting the number of people who could go in.
That's
so like this
wild.
walkway was at least like I don't know, like 20 feet wide at the very least, and people could walk through it freely. But like there is such a large mass of people that it was actually like backed up and stopped a little bit. So I had to kind of like sit and chill there for a second as I like waited to make my way into the convention center, which was pretty nuts.
Yeah. Do you remember Humanity, Jacob, the video game? Imagine it's just looking like that as you're traveling around trying to play Hollow Knight Silksong.
I had there was someone in my Discord who asked, if I see Janet and Anna, do you think I can say hi? Would they be weirded out? And I was like, no, you should say hi. But now hearing that, I'm like, there was like a 0.001% chance that you would run into that person.
Some people did see us.
No one said hello from the Jacob Geller Discord.
No,
they didn't. But they might have been. They could have
Yeah.
been from the. We didn't ask. Hey, are you in Jacob Geller's Discord? That's kind of like 8th on my list of after. Hi, how are you? Thank you for watching. Have you played anything you liked? Are you in Jacob Geller's Discord? But no, we did have a couple people even at the con itself. We had someone come up after we had finished our lunch. Sort of. You get more of that on the blog, I suppose. And then, funnily enough, later we were at a bar. And there was a guy that sat to like the right of me, and he had at one point asked, like when we were eating lunch, and he had asked me, "Hey, can you watch my stuff really quick? I'm gonna go like get like
At the convention center, like hours and hours before. Yeah. We were
And then
like
later at the bar,
fumbling some corn dogs, and this guy asked us to watch his stuff.
Yeah.
And then it was at the
later,
bar.
Yeah, later at the bar, he was like, "Hey, like I know and I like MinnMax. I just didn't know what to say." But it was so funny because another guy came up to like at that lunch, like he was there. He didn't say that he liked MinnMax or that he knew us. But then another guy at the end of lunch was like, "Hey, came up to say like, what's up because of MinnMax and stuff. Can I get a picture?" And he actually took our picture with that other guy. And I bet he was like, I don't know what he was like. I can't imagine being in that position. I think that's really funny. But I'm glad he did eventually reveal himself as a fan, because what a funny story.
Oh boy. Well, if you want to experience going to Gamescom with Anna and Janet, boy, do we have the thing for you, which is the travelogue that I'm editing, and it should be up. The plan right now is probably up August 8th on that Monday. We'll try and drop it at that point. What's that, Janet?
September 8th. You said August.
Oh, you're so smart. September 8th is a better
August
dropping
8th
point. I'm not going to go back in
next
time.
year.
Next year.
It's going to be amazing because it was very fun.
It's so
Like,
good, yeah.
it's so fun to like get all that footage from Janet. And like, okay, I assume they've been filming in Germany this whole time, and then to drop it in the timeline, like, okay, it's 10 hours of footage. So it will really feel like you are at Gamescom with them if you unlock the extended version of the $10 tier.
We did it,
But
Anna.
You did it. You truly did it. It was a real like, okay, this is going to be a big project to tackle. Okay, can't wait to dive in. But I mean, Jacob, from the outside, Gamescom, I love that you two went. It was very sweet, but it was kind of a nice experience from the outside too. It's like, okay, what's really popping? And from the outside point of view, it was like Hollow Knight Silksong, huge. The fact that was playable there. Did you see that Bloomberg story, by the way? It's about the game's development and how it's like, we got along every day and everything's great. It just takes a long time. No story here. Please move on. But the part that blew my mind is, quote, when the studio announced Silksong in February of 2019, Hollow Knight had sold 2.8 million copies. The game has sold another 12 million copies since then. Like, the hype for Silksong is fueling the original Hollow Knight game to unprecedented numbers. It's really fun to see. But then, I mean, I think the other big takeaway is like Switch 2, Rocky Waters, from the outside at least, of people being like, Elden Ring on the Switch 2 runs like dog S. Borderlands 4 is a little bit rough on Switch 2, and then a lot of developers actually getting a chance to talk more about it and being like, Nintendo has not sent us a dev unit, like we cannot make games for Switch 2 at the pace that we want to. So that's from the outside all we see. But thank God you all were there absorbing the sights and sounds and the biggest takeaways, all that fun stuff. So you ran through a bunch of fun indie games, cool games on Bonus Pod, but we should probably jump to like one of the biggest. Resident Evil Requiem, certainly one of the biggies that was there. So what was the demo that they were actually showing for Requiem?
It was the demo that a few people got to play at SGF, but almost no one. And the hands-off that they showed at SGF was the demo that you got there.
Oh, so it was big guy fitting through doors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Love that big
Though,
guy.
Anna, I liked your theory that could be like the character's mom, who you saw like potentially home invaded, abducted in the.
I'm already spinning up because like the mom is so frantic, like in the trailer that we saw, and if she's like tied to some sort of research and like the protagonist, like, you know, there's obviously something is awry. And so if her mom was involved in some shady dealings, maybe, or some shady people, maybe they turned her into a monster because it really wants to get to her. And so I'm like, what if that's mommy?
Interesting. That'd be kind of cool. Because like, the fact that
from the mommy to mom arc in Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm. But the fact that they're like leaning so much into this for like the first two big demos for the trade shows as well is like, okay, it's kind of like a Mr. X type thing, but that would be a good hook then, if that's the reason they're leading into it, is you're being chased by your monster mama throughout the game. That's kind of cool.
Because I liked Anna's version of Resident Evil. I was like, that sounds really good, actually. I hope that comes to fruition. But I mean, having seen the trailer already, like it kind of like gave me like what I needed to do in the game. So it did take a little bit of the, I think the rush of being like, the fuse box, you know, I mean, they didn't show you the solutions. I found that on my own, but they weren't. It's a very small space that they gave you to work with. I would say the big takeaway that I got playing that I didn't get from just watching it was there was a point where the lights kind of cut out and you were just sort of completely disempowered in a way that didn't come across from seeing it hands off.
Right.
Because a lot of the hands off, you could just see you're getting chased by this monster. Ooh, if you go into a lit room, of which there are two, you can just stand there and they'll leave. So it's like, okay, well, you know, easy to play, but not exactly exciting mechanically. But the point where the lights cut out and I really had to find a space to hide that wasn't really fully hidden, I thought was like really exciting. But I do wish I had gotten like a little bit more to sink my teeth into or to see in terms of, it feels like Capcom's playing it very close to the chest in terms of what is the big sort of extra angle here that is kind of going to put this on the map.
You still don't have like a gun in that demo, right?
Correct.
You're just hiding. Oh, it's weird because it's like, I can see why that would be kind of a compelling demo to show off. But one of the reasons that I like Resident Evil, especially in a world post like Amnesia and all of these other hidey games, is like, I like that you have a gun, and sometimes you don't have ammo, and sometimes, you know, you have a gun, but it doesn't do anything to shoot the guy. And so it is like, it feels weirdly kind of 10 years ago that like they're like, our big thing is you don't have a gun and you hide in a closet.
Yeah.
You know, that was like a popular horror thing a little while ago.
Yeah, but you got to wonder like what they're saving for their rollout, for their marketing beats, and the fact that like they're teasing and showing like, hey, it's a bombed out Raccoon City. Here you go. That would imply a level of freedom that we haven't really seen yet in any of these demos. So like maybe they're saving for like a big preview event, and that'll be the big bomb to drop, no pun intended, of like, okay, look how open this is, and maybe another playable character. Like that combo, I feel like is going to
Evil Within 2 style.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? So
no, nothing to back that up. Just me being hopeful.
I mean, did it change your perspective on this at all, Janet? Still looking forward to it to the same amount as you did going in?
Yeah, I mean, I think I left like one tiny like bit more positive than when I saw the hands off, just because I'm like, okay, they cut the lights out sometimes. You could do something with that. Versus, you know, seeing it hands off, it felt like a little bit, I don't know, like not that informative, I think, of what makes the game special. But I am still just kind of waiting for more pizzazz. But yeah, still looking forward to it. I'm a fan of Resident Evil. There's a couple games that I've missed over the years from them because I'm a late fan of the franchise. Because like the first time I saw Resident Evil was one on the GameCube. And I said, ooh, that seems scary. And I was a kid, so I would just like kind of watch in the distance of my brother's room.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, they make good games. So I feel, based on history, I feel confident this is going to be a good game. But I, as someone that wants, you know, them to push, I'm hoping it'll be in that conversation for one of the, oh no, this is like one of the modern hits from the Resident Evil team. But it remains to be seen so far.
Yeah, I feel like we're waiting for them to really step up to the plate. And like we're excited about a new Resident Evil, but I don't know if there's any specifics with Requiem yet that's like, other than the pitch of more open bombed out Raccoon City. Like that, I feel like is the beat that's going to really bring me in a big way. But it's coming out February 27th, 2026. So we got a little bit of time
soon.
yet. Yeah, and you're right. It is soon. Anna, hello. Hey, you want to talk about Phantom Blade Zero?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the deal with this?
So this was kind of like one of the games that surprised us at the show. We didn't go in and like get an appointment, ended up seeing it on the show floor. It's a 3D action game. Imagine like a more like inspired from like a Devil May Cry type Bayonetta type thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of it's kind of interesting. It felt the studio itself used to make mobile games, S Games, Chinese based studio, and now they're really like the as I understand it, as it was explained to us, the director like really wanted to sink his teeth into like making like a really like large kind of like AAA game, and this is like the result of that. And the team is kind of like eclectic. Like the level designer is like a 20-some-year-old architect, and they have done all these fun things, like all of like the motion all the animations are like all motion captured, and it played really great. It was kind of like one of those giant booths on the floor, and I'm kind of like, oh, you know, like what is this? And I'm not like I've played Bayonetta. I'm not a huge like 3D action game girly,
Right.
But playing it, I was like, oh, this feels really great. I am interested in like the general world and the art style. It's kind of like imperial type kind of inspiration, historical setting. It just felt like really fun to like dodge and move around, and the finishers were fun, but not like overly, you know, it wasn't like you're sitting watching animations, anything like that.
Yeah. I feel like they've been showing it for like a while, because wasn't it like at SGF last year? Because Jacob, isn't this the game that you're like, go play Phantom Blade Zero for me, please? I'm trying to remember.
I think so. It's one of those, and there are a lot of games like this now where it's like from a studio that has never made something like this, and you see a trailer and you're like, that looks too good. You know, like is this going to be a real game? Right. And then weirdly, often the answer has been yes. You know, that like Lies of P was basically that situation, and they delivered. You know, Black Myth Wukong obviously like was a huge hit, and so it was one of those. I think I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks so up my alley. I like don't want to get too excited about it in case it turns out that they can't actually deliver, you know, the gameplay they're promising. And so it's very exciting to me to hear that like they are seemingly.
Yeah. And so this, like, playing it for a little bit on the show floor immediately, like, I added it to my list of, like, this is a game that I want to play when it comes out. This is a game that I'm very interested in and, like, I'm actively looking forward to the release of, which is, like, fun because it's, like, a little bit outside of my genre, but preferences. And so, but, you know,
Does the game have Riz? Does it have
Riz?
Yeah, because it's like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta
how does
are
it,
like, you know, are the characters
it doesn't have that
having
kind of
fun?
Riz. It doesn't have that kind of Riz. No, it doesn't have that kind of whimsy or Riz or like kind of like campiness to it that we saw.
Yeah.
It seems a little bit more on the like serious side, but the animation work is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one also surprised me. I'm in the same boat as you, Anna, where I'm not like an action game girly at all. And I was very relieved when like you had your hands on the sticks first, because I'm like, I'll come in later and like, kind of see you play a bit. But it is, you know, and I did play on like easy and I found it so challenging because again, I'm newer to that genre, but it felt like very like parsable, like button combos, like solid dodging, some fun like level design with like a little bit of verticality to it. Like I'm looking at the trailer and I see some like wall running. Like it just felt like an enjoyable adventure. And it's funny because this is like such a weird, again, just demo take, outsider genre perspective. I do not have expertise in this genre. Listen to me with a big asterisk. But I actually kind of enjoyed my time with this more than I did with Onimusha, which kind of surprised me. Because I think Onimusha is a much more like tightly packaged, like knowable game, and this does feel kind of more of a generalist approach, but I had fun in the generalist approach. I think it also helps that, you know, you have like some ranged weapons too with like the bow and things, and I'm a big bow fan, but yeah.
Seems like the only kind of red flag at this point is still that there's no release date. They've been showing it for a long time. As far as I can tell, they still haven't said when Phantom Blade Zero is coming out, but yeah, cool that it lured you in with a big booth. That's the kind of beauty of a huge show like this.
And
is
so
really
they have enough money behind them clearly that they can have a big booth at Gamescom.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it was really interesting to be there because like you could see like physically where the money in games is right now, and it's like mobile games. It's a lot of like up and coming like Chinese like studios.
Chinese
like
and Korean,
it's definitely kind of you know, I don't know, from what I've heard from the past, like it's the presence of like the studios was like kind of different this year, and so we could definitely see that. Like you know, one of the most popular booths was the Love and Deep Space booth. Genshin Impact, still massively popular booth. So it's kind of, you kind of see these other studios that are like South Korean and Chinese studios that are like a major presence at Gamescom this year.
Yeah. And so when you wonder, why do all these Keighley shows have so many South Korean and Chinese games being shown? It's like, part of it's because it's where the money's flowing at the moment, and for the paid slots in the presentations, like that's who can actually afford to buy one of those slots. All right, you teased it, Janet. You're saying Onimusha Way, the sword, you wouldn't wipe your butt with it? Is that your exact verbiage?
What? That is definitely not what I said.
I'm pretty sure that's what you said, Janet.
Yeah. That is what will be clipped when people edit this for TikTok. So unfortunately, yes. No, I thought it was like super solid. I think it's an approachable game for like someone that's more on the beginner tier, which I am. Like I play games that have action in them, but I'm more on the action adventure. AKA like you just hit some stuff and then kind of walk around. That's what I can do. When it comes to capital A action, I am like, what's going on? Ooh, I'm dead. Onimusha is not that level of hard. Like, it was not nearly as hard to me as Phantom Blade Zero was. But the boss had hands in a way that makes me personally worried if I can hang with it. Even though I think mechanically it's fun to have the, like, kill enemies, get the little orbs.
Yeah, you still suck in their powers and all that stuff like the old games. Yeah.
And I do think I'm infinitely jealous of people that can parry. Yes, Jacob, I'm thinking of you. You will thrive in this game because it does have that flow of, like, I was talking to the team a bit, asking some follow-up questions of the flow of, you know, you like fill up a certain meter to get like a special attack, and then you get more of the orbs that help you with that, like feed into the parry, and like you can get in this really nice flow. But as someone that's like not that good at parrying, I always find that like these games always leave like the dodgers of us behind, where we're just like sort of struggling. And with the boss in particular, who I admittedly didn't fight for that long, it was a timed demo, and I, you know, lose some of my time to just taking notes on the game. Again, the regular enemies were actually pretty normal, but the stamina meter for the boss refills really fast. So I do think you have to really be in the flow of nailing that combat. And I think for players that are more skilled than me, they'll find that a fun, enticing like blend where it's like, oh, we're a little casual in the day to day, and then when the boss comes, I can really flex my skills.
Yeah.
But as someone that doesn't have those skills, I'm like, I'll give this a try, but I'm not really sure where it will land for me ultimately.
Janet, remind me the stamina thing. Is it? I know probably Sekiro isn't like a great reference point for you, but is it similar? It's like there's a health bar, but then also it's like if you tire the boss out, or like in Sekiro, it's if you parry them enough, then you can do a kind of big attack on them. Is that the way that it works here?
Yeah, essentially, there's a chance that I'm missing like some additional detail on like the different ways to, if there's like special attacks that maybe like lower stamina, or I know like when they were showing off like the hands off, they were talking about you can hit certain areas to get like a certain kind of, or maybe there's abilities that are more stamina depleting than not. But yeah, like you're gonna need to, it feels like you kind of do need to break them to like have an efficient time against them. Which I did beat the first boss in Sekiro. It took a long time, but I did. That's not a horrible reference point. I did do that for PP Bang. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm never coming back here again. I deleted it immediately and cried myself to sleep that night. Something else though I do think was fun from like the moment to moment gameplay is they do want you to be like a little bit more mindful in terms of not just spamming attacks. Like if an enemy is blocking, you can't just like hit them over and over again because you'll tire yourself out and then kind of leave yourself open to like an attack. So they also had some fun nods to some environmental stuff you can do, like a cart on fire that you can like throw towards enemies and things like that. So I definitely want to give it a chance when it comes out. But I do worry that, it has difficulty settings too. I can just knock it down. I find the bosses will probably give me a little more challenge than I'm up for. But for the sickos, like I think they're going to be eating on this. And for me, I think I'll be saying, here, you can finish mine.
Yeah, I think it is smart for Capcom, even like when they first were talking about this game, to have that pitch of like, basically, winky, winky, this isn't a From Software level challenge. Like we want this to be approachable. I think there is an audience for people who are like, oh, I like the idea of the sword combat. I just feel like every game that looks like Onimusha these days is going to kick my teeth in. And so to have one that's not going to do that sounds wonderful. But yeah, Onimusha Way of the Sword 2026, I think is all they're saying for the release date, but I can't wait after playing that first one for the deepest dive. Okay, let's really get to the meat of this whole thing. Anna, Pokemon fanatic, you got to play Pokemon Legends ZA. Yeah. I don't want to color your expectations too much or your thoughts too much, but it seems like I've been a little mixed on this game so far, and it seems like the reports at Gamescom are people being like, thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll say like, I'm going to play like any Pokemon game, and I try to like separate, fan attitudes from like covering it as a journalist as much as I can. But sometimes with Pokemon, that's hard. But I will say I went in with like pretty low expectations, being like, yeah, I'm going to be like bored in the way that like I like every other Pokemon game. But I'm really there for like the cute little creatures. I'm not like there for the gameplay. Here's the other thing I'll say that was interesting was at Gamescom, they split the demo up into two booths. So there's actually two different demos. So there's like a demo for like the meat mechanics of the game, and then there's a demo for like the Mega Evolution. So I didn't go and do the Mega Evolution demo because I'm like, I'm not going to wait in two different lines to like play a turn-based battle. That's like ridiculous. I was like pleasantly surprised by how well it played. I was like a little intimidated going in because this was like the only demo that I played that wasn't in English. It was like fully in German.
Oh, fun. Okay.
So, but I was like, okay, like I know what Pokemon is, so we're just gonna scroll through this and go through. And like there's nothing there that's gonna be all that surprising, I would say. We have a repetition of a lot of like the gameplay from Legends of Arceus. Yeah. But now basically what it feels like is just like a slight refinement on that. So like the walking around and battling felt good. It felt zippy. And, it's like they're teetering this line between like turn-based and not turn-based because you're pressing the attack every time like the button refreshes. And so to me, that feels a lot more enjoyable than like the standard Pokemon format. And also I think it's like, it kind of, I walked away from it kind of feeling like, yeah, it's taking, it's still what was in like the first Legends of game. This is a new spinoff series. And it has refined it in like is nudged it in like a positive direction. So it felt like not as chaotic, not as messy. There's times where I was running around in Arceus, where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like kind of a lot, and I'm kind of stressed, and this doesn't feel exactly fun. And in the demo I played, it just felt a little cleaner, a little calmer, and also a little zippier and more fun.
Huh. So I'm trying to get a sense of like, I don't think I'm as into the environment for Legends ZA, like just being in a town and whatnot, but like if the combat is going to be like a notch up even from Arceus, which like I enjoyed the combat in that and switching the styles and stuff. So in the combat, it's like got the cooldown for the moves, but is it actually, are you controlling just the trainer, or are you controlling the Pokemon directly?
You're controlling the trainer. So
okay.
Yeah, so you're controlling the trainer. I mean, you can bring out the Pokemon and like swap in a different Pokemon, so you can control it in that sense. And then when you're out of the battle, the Pokemon will follow you around.
Okay, slightly more action focus for the combat, and that's enough to make it feel different.
Yeah, I feel like more engaged this time playing this game. Like this formula has been tweaked, like the battles felt faster, and I really liked like how it felt to change the Pokemon out throughout the battle. And so you're like, it felt like you were kind of like a little bit more on your toes, but a little bit everything felt not as unwieldy as I'll say. Like I'm not obviously I didn't do like any boss fight or anything like that. Like there was those really kind of like cuckoo banana boss fights in Legends of Arceus where people were comparing it to a Souls-like or whatever, because you have to like jump and dodge so much. Like I didn't play anything like that, and so I don't know if that part's present. But what I liked about it is like, yeah, you're just like bopping around this kind of like Paris little environment. The demo itself is like a challenge, so you have to like go beat 3 different trainers, and so they give you like 4 or 5 Pokemon to battle with, and you just kind of go from trainer to trainer and like accrue points to like complete this like little battle thing. So you're just navigating like a kind of the city back alley type area, and you have your Pokemon with you, and you can also like, you can still like sneak up and like start a battle that way, which is a very fun play on that formula, because we've always, you know, typically been like the exclamation point and the other trainer starts the battle. So it's very fun to be able to flip that script a little bit. I
assume they're playing it on Switch too, right? They're not showing the Switch version.
Yeah, it's all Switch too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Convenient. Yeah. So it's coming out October 16th this year for both. Did you see that absurd horror short film they released for Pokemon, where it's like about the Victory Bell? Did you see this? Anna?
The new Mega.
Is this official?
This is an official thing. It looks like Resident Evil Requiem gameplay. Like, look this thing up. It's called The Case of the Sweet Scent Incident trailer. Like, I really feel if you show like a little young Pokemon fan this video, this is their Blair Witch. It is surprisingly dark and scary. It's cool they did it.
Like, Pokemon's always had that kind of like dark undertone, you know? I mean, we're capturing monsters and forcing them to fight each other.
Right. And it's got like what Drifloon will like grab children and haul them away into the skies.
Yeah,
and
or
stuff.
like Cubone wears like the skull of its like dead mom.
Yeah.
That
but to
kind
see
of
them like
creepypasta vibes. Creepypasta vibes.
But it's always been like, it looks cute, and then you dig in a little and you realize, oh, it's secretly a little messed up. Whereas this just looks like PT.
It is,
It looks like I was watching someone play PT.
Yeah, we're used to HMs, but PT? Yeah, and they have like a little sequence with Sarah's favorite Pokemon, Esper, like little nightmare eyes freak, where it's just like staring at them down the hallway and stuff. Anyways, it's weird. If you want to look it up, The Case of the Sweet Scent Incident. But we talked about it last week a little bit, just based on the trailer. But Janet, did you get to play that Denshattack train game? Hell yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Ooh, Denshattack. Ooh, Denshattack. Does it play as well as we want it to?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. I have almost exclusively like good things to say about my time with the demo. I think I spent about like 15 minutes is about how long it is. It takes you through like a couple tutorials and like 2 races. This was one I saw and I was like, I have to play this. This was like my game of the show. And I think for a lot of people in our industry, this was like a big pop. So I'm like, okay, they had one of the longer lines. I was in line for like 40 plus minutes. Shout out to the MinnMax fan who was in line with me, and we like talked for a good chunk of that line. So I apologize I forgot your name offhand, but it was a fun conversation. Game wise, it is, if you don't know, it's the train, you're doing tricks and racing game. The art style is very like Jet Set Radio, Sunset Overdrive, stylish, exciting, like the racing, the only thing I'll point out is that keep in mind the races are on tracks, right? You're a train. So it's not so much like, you're picking your like drift line or you're sort of maneuvering as much. The driving feels a lot more, or the racing feels a lot more akin to Sayonara Wild Hearts, where you're like, the race is kind of happening to you and you're reacting to the race.
Right.
Yeah, I'm surprised to even hear that it is a racing game, because from that trailer, I kind of was like, oh, this is just Tony Hawk or something. So it's interesting that you're doing races. Yeah, you're doing races, you're doing tricks, and like you might then wonder, well, how do you like gain speed if you're just like on track? There's, boost pads and things like. There's also a little bit on the Tony Hawk end, Jacob. There are like potentially like some collectibles on the tracks where it's like you'll see something and like, oh, you can grab this item if you like hit the jump or you take this one path. But that's how like the racing functions. It's a lot more like low key than like a Mario Kart or a Cruise and Blast. But super stylish. The tricks are fun and easy to pull off. I didn't do as many tricks as I thought. I thought I'd be doing like tricks nonstop. There's only like so much spacing and like height you can gain to do that. Still very fun, but it just was a little less tricky than I thought it would be. And my only like potential gripe or concern, I think this is a Gamescom specific thing. That controller got used by like 300,000 people.
Oh, no.
There was a tutorial part where they wanted me to do like specific tricks, like do this one. It's like left and then curve down. And it took me like a long time to do those. Like I would stare directly at the controller. I just never really got it to work right.
Huh.
And I think that's probably just like a finicky whatever thing. When I played the races, they played totally fine. I was doing tricks. I passed all my tutorials immediately. But just something that I don't know. I could see that maybe being an issue if that's a game issue and not just like maybe this controller is like a little worn down and the input isn't reading as great. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Looked good, played good, excited for it to come out.
Backstage Pass says it has the same director as Ninja Gaiden Ragebound for Denshattack. That'd be interesting. I gotta look into that. It does have the composer we didn't talk about last week, T-Lopes, who did like Sonic Mania and Shredder's Revenge and Streets of Rage 4 and stuff. So yeah, anticipating a killer soundtrack for that. But Denshattack in 2026. Put it on the board, folks.
Some last thing, some fun little story stuff in it too. Didn't get a big sense of but it's kind of giving like visual novel, like maybe you have like little enemy, like people that you're kind of facing in the race circuit. So we'll have a little bit of story to it too if people feel like they need that from their experience.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Anna, you teased it in Bonus Pod. One of your favorite indie games there was a game called Green Again. What kind of hippy-dippy nonsense is this?
I know. I had, okay, so this was one of the games that sort of, honestly, like I walked up to it. It was one of the only games that didn't, like there was one period where we were there where it's like everything had a line and this one didn't have a line. So I'm like, let's try it. And I was like extremely charmed by it. So it's by a developer, goes by Mad Snippets. It is like, okay, the concept's incredible. So basically you play at these like little green humanoid sprout things. Basically what happens is like their terraforming AI like malfunctioned and like AI like destroyed their world. And so they're trying to like rebuild it back up again. And so I'm like, okay, cute. Maybe a little bit too on the nose, but a little too relatable. But then I thought that the gameplay like worked really, really well. Like, so the art style, it's a bit too cartoony for my taste, but it's so imagine it's like a management sim type thing. So you have like management systems and sim systems, and it has like the hexagonal kind of like resource management and gathering, kind of like it has like a cute Catan vibe type thing.
Right.
And you're basically, I was just really impressed by like how smooth it was from like the very beginning and how easy it was to kind of like get a handle on the game itself. There was no limit on the demo. I think I played like close to 20 minutes, was like managing a pretty sizable town. And so it sizes up like pretty quickly. The developer was saying that you might be managing like thousands of these little sprout guys. But what I really liked about it is it wasn't overly harsh. It wasn't like stressful. And then towards the end, there's like also tower defense elements, which I really like tower defense games. And so it's kind of like a laid back resource management sim with tower defense elements. And I just like thought it all worked very, very well.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah. Green Again. It kind of has some vibes like Terra Nil Remember they came out a couple years ago, kind of the reverse city builder was their whole pitch and stuff, but that's cool. Yeah, green again. I don't think they have a release date for that game there. Jacob Geller, you know what does have a release date?
What has a release date, Ben?
It's out right now. A URL called patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. If you want to jump in at any tier, help support us, we'd greatly appreciate that. We're coming up at the end of the month here. And so if you want to put an image, a promotional image of your choice on every MinnMax video throughout the entire month of September, you can jump in at that $50 tier. So if you see those indie games and whatnot that have their image in the rotation there, jump on in if you want to promote your passion project, your podcast, your Twitch channel, your YouTube channel, your pet's cute face, an indie game you're working on, anything you like, jump in at that $50 tier. You can put a promotional image on there at the Wall of Heroes tier. Throughout the month, your image is seen 1 million times. So $50 for 1 million impressions, not too shabby. So jump in on Patreon. Feel free to send me an email or reach out through MinnMax's official site if you have any questions about how that works. But please jump in. The time is nigh. Just like the time is nigh, of course, to celebrate the one and the only Remedy, everybody. Thanks to I Am 8-Bit, they have a sweet celebration of Remedy's anniversary, their 30th anniversary, happening right now at I Am 8-Bit. You can get the Ashtray Maze PJ set from Control. You get an Ashtray Maze Ashtray, which is very good. A Night Springs VHS. Of course, the Oh Dear Diner coffee mug. Power pins, lunch boxes for Cold Casey. If you are into celebrating all things Remedy, I Am 8-Bit is your place to be. Check it out at their wonderful online store. They got the whole 30th anniversary collection happening for Remedy right now, and we're all Remedy fans, and you can be too, physically. And you can go to I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store and also get anything else you want in there. The world's your oyster, and you get 10% off if you use the promo code Digital Nomad. Digital Nomad for 10% off of everything under $100. Check it out and help support them to keep them around. Help support I Am 8-Bit because they ship out a prize each and every week to the MinnMax community. This week, of course, they are shipping out Bear and Breakfast, the vinyl soundtrack. Thank you to I Am 8-Bit, to whoever has the best community questions. So we need to look alive, remember all of these community questions, and then choose the absolute number one person who absolutely number one, no doubt about it, deserves a vinyl soundtrack to Bear and Breakfast. You ready for this? It's not going to be easy. A lot of people think this part of the podcast is easy. It's not easy to break hearts. It's not easy to figure out who's the best, but we got to do it.
People telling you all the time, that second half of the podcast, it seems so easy.
Every review of the podcast says the second half is too easy. Challenge yourself more. Get harder questions.
Do more parries.
Yeah, exactly. We need to parry every question. Adam writes in with the hardest question of all time. They say, hey, all, it would be kind of fun, actually. Maybe next week on the podcast can be like, write in with your hardest question. Like, you know, I don't know how we frame that, like extreme difficulty community questions or something. That'd be kind of a fun angle. Write in, challenge us, please. But Adam says, hey, as game critics, already challenging, on a gaming podcast whose opinions influence our purchases, I guess that's us, do you approve of us buying Silksong at launch with 0 reviews available on the grounds of, quote, everyone thinks it'll probably be fine? If so, does that lessen the value of podcast discussions around it or similar games? That's a great question. So they announced last week after we launched the podcast, it's your money.
Swipe and tap that card. No, I don't care at all if people buy games without my opinion. That's actually my preferred way that you buy your game.
Well, I mean, without an opinion, but without anybody's opinion, it's not like we need to hang on the end of our seat. But like, it is like, if you wait a couple days, it'd be nice to have some sense.
Criticism can have value beyond telling people to buy something or not. Like,
also
that's the thing is like people can experience it and their appreciation of it can be deepened by it as they read or listen to good criticism. So like, that's not, you know, tied to a release. And so that's, I guess my opinion is like, yeah, go buy it. I mean, Team Cherry made Hollow Knight's great. This game will most probably be great. Like, it's not a massive risk to, you know, go and play this game.
It's an interesting situation that they've been in, which I don't know if we directly said it, but it's like Team Cherry said, we're not sending out advanced copies of the game. Right. You know, it's just going to come out for everyone at the same time, press and whatever, which, like, having read the Bloomberg piece on them, sounds like they're making that decision basically because they, like, I don't even know if they have like a PR company. You know, like it really seems like they have just intentionally kept themselves so small and like just the amount of people that they want to be working with. And from their perspective, I totally understand it. From a journalism perspective and from, you know, the perspective of someone who thinks reviews are valuable, it sucks, you know, not just because it's like, oh, we don't get to tell you to buy it before you get to have it. It's just like, because I know that everyone who writes a review of that is going to be putting in 18-hour days playing Silksong to do it. And so that's the part that's like frustrating. But you know, I think that like a good review has value after you have played the game. You know, like I think if you are taking your job seriously as a critic and you are writing a good review, you can help someone understand why they like something even after they have played and finished it.
Yeah, I feel like it feels different than, I don't know if you remember years ago when Bethesda was like, we're not going to send games out for review ahead of time. F that. And it was like, excuse me? Like that seems outrageous. Yeah, I mean, but like when it's like an indie
Bethesda
team.
had been about like they were like, Kotaku never gets a code from us again. Yes. You know, like they had already been doing stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. But then in this case, the fact that they're like, well, you know, you probably know the quality of Silksong. And at the same time, they're like, oh, you know, we want it to go out to backers at the same time. It's like, I guess I get that sentiment from where they're sitting at, which is at the top of the world. And they're like, you know what? We don't really need the press. We're doing fine. Like, let's just launch it all at the same time. Like, I kind of get that.
To be clear, like I will always want there to be review codes because I think press having access to things like that is good for like press. But I also know that for them, it's more of like a marketing. You know, they don't necessarily care about like the art of criticism, right? Which is like, that's fine. It's not their job to. Their job is to make their game, work on it, engage with their community, and try to boost sales. But yeah, like everyone already said it, but I do just want to strongly echo that. I think a big part of like what we do is not about conveying what people haven't gotten to play or haven't decided what to play. It's about like kind of like the book club vibes, right? Like that's why Deepest Dive exists, where it's like it's the thought of enriching your enjoyment and understanding by like hearing somebody else. And yeah, like that's like so much of the fun of it. I think I would actually argue, especially a lot of people that are intense enough to be listening to like a video game podcast, it's not because they need help figuring out what to buy. It's because they just like, they love it. Mm-hmm. They love games. They love hearing about games, talking about games. And it's just everyone enjoying the art behind that.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of which, I mean, the games drop in September 4th. So maybe we'll hold next week's podcast back a day just so we can cover it and have some early impressions. We'll see what everything's looking like next week. Probably we'll end up doing that. So that's how it's going to impact us here. So it's a funky situation for sure. But I mean, it's kind of in that, when you're top of the heap, it's like, what are we going to say? We're going to be outraged about it? Like, okay, I guess you get away with them.
Well, it's like they're top of the heap and they're 5 people.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so if it's Disney, I will get mad. Yes. If it's Team Perry, whatever.
Yep. Travis and Fargo writes in, and they have a question that Anna probably has no interest in. We could probably skip it. They just say, who is the cutest bad guy? Now, I assume they're talking about other than Sephiroth. Now, I added that distinction because I was like, I was just going to say Sephiroth.
Oh, come on, Ben.
Yeah.
So you're cheating at the question.
I am, I'm skimming the questions. I think it's more fun if we choose our favorite bad guy from the movie bad guys. So it's like Mark Maron Snake, the wolf guy. You know bad guys, right?
That's a franchise that I've most been like, there's no one in my life who's young enough to be into this, but it must be a hit because I keep seeing things about it.
I think I made $80 gazillion. Okay, but the actual super cute bad guy, who's number one of the heap, other than Sephiroth?
Well, cute or hot was the question.
They say cute.
Sephiroth is not cute. He's hot.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sephiroth is sexy. Sorry, Ben.
Okay. So he's not,
so now it's like, because Lady Dimitrescu is up there for sure. But she's also not cute. She's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we can say cute and or hot, right?
I think let's just, we gotta expand
I think you should make it like, no, it has to be cute.
Right, this is hard mode, you're right.
Yeah. So it's like what?
God.
King
well,
DDD.
I wrote down my answer for like cute/hot. Okay, how is this for an answer? I'm gonna just toss this out here, test the waters a little bit with this one. Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah. He's cute.
No, he's not. If he was anything, he'd be hot. I'm not saying he's hot. Don't clip me for this too. It's a big clip day for me. But he's got like an edge to him. That's his whole thing. And the edge is like a hot mystique.
It's like a 9-year-old with an edge. You're like, okay, buddy, you're cute.
Yeah.
You don't really.
You just said, Jacob.
I still want to like pat his little head, like if he goes next to me and be like, oh baby, it's gonna be okay.
When you Google Sonic the Hedgehog, as I just did, it's like you see him like holding a gun. I know he's holding a gun with flames behind him. That's someone who's like aiming for like that's like hot vibes, right?
Yeah, but for I don't know.
But the first one out the door always gets shot on us. So I thank you for bringing something to the table.
Yeah,
to
we appreciate
get the
that.
things going. Maybe is Rouge the Bat like no? She's like a friend, right? I don't know anything about Sonic. She's cute.
She's a friend of me.
She's also kind of hot, but she's also cute. She's more in the cute vibe.
Yeah.
What we're learning is the Sonic designs really branch these like hot, cute designators like really ambiguously.
I think the bat is like kind of Sabrina Carpenter hot cute, right? Like kind of both hot and cute at the same time, like Schrodinger's hot cute look kind of vibe. So that's a little bit of a cheat, I feel like.
How about the princess and Slay the Princess?
That's interesting.
Arguably a
age
villain.
check though? Like either 16 or a million, right? Like I don't remember where.
Jacob said it.
We had this whole
old.
problem for Thirst Council as well. We were looking up the Slay the Princess age.
Kerrigan from StarCraft. She's kind of cute. She's all like, "Ooh, I'm the queen of the swarm. Look at me go."
Who's Kerrigan?
Yeah, not non-human
StarCraft.
Kerrigan, I guess.
Yeah, we never said they had to be human. Ben, I like where your head is at. You gotta branch out.
Well, she went to the dark side. She went to the Zerg side, but that's
Who's the villain in Chicory? Is it that rabbit?
God, I don't remember.
Probably
I thought that was
I don't really remember it, but
Well, yeah, like no, that's kind of like a frenemy vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have
Friends
another
are
one
cute.
to offer the audience. N from Pokemon. I had a crush on N when I was a kid and I played Black and White, and I think that he is pretty cute, I would say.
His name is N?
Yeah. Black and White villain.
agree.
Pokemon Black and White villain.
Okay, interesting.
I agree with this. Without looking up this character's age, I would say this is like a cute design. This is cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I had a crush on him as a kid. Don't know his age.
Yeah.
Don't come for me.
Coppers.
how about in
good.
Donut County, you're kind of the villain because you keep making everything disappear
Yeah.
and you're a
The
raccoon.
No,
Pretty
no,
cute.
we're off the track.
Yeah,
We're off the track.
raccoon.
No
Yeah.
way. I think N is the correct answer. Congratulations, Anna. Chat's winging it. Yeah, it turns out N off the charts.
You get a prize to my mate bid.
I'm such a big Remedy fan. Thank you.
Luca Alberti writes in and says, since Anna and Janet attended Gamescom, I'd like to ask some cultural shocks, if any, that they experienced in Cologne. Did you all enjoy Germany overall? What was your biggest culture shock?
I have 3 words for the biggest culture shock, which is nude sauna village. That's it. That's all I'll be saying.
Now, if it was a nude Sonic village, we'd be more interested.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the right answer. Anna, you have all the right answers for community questions.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I think our
I studied
other
really hard
one,
for this test.
it shows. It is you're popping on screen. The other one that me and Anna talked about a lot was the water bottles having like the lid connected to them.
Oh,
Which I'm team connecty lid, and Anna's team only if it's done in a certain way.
Yeah, I just feel like it wasn't a scourge upon the population to constantly be losing your tops of your water bottles,
Especially for a disposable water bottle. So if you lose the top of a disposable water bottle, what do? You just drink it.
Yeah, it's fine.
You just finish it.
Yeah, it's all good. Have you been to Germany before, Anna? I knew you lived in Italy for a while and stuff, right? So I assumed that you're well seasoned in Europe, but I guess I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I went like a little bit as a child, but it's not like I had robust memories of being there.
Yeah. Did you guys have like a cheat sheet of phrases? What word were you using the most getting around?
Dankeschön.
Oh, hey, look at that. That's the train game? Frostverse wrote in and they say, hey, when you're demoing a game in front of the developer, like at Gamescom, and they ask you, what'd you think? How much criticism is appropriate? Do you just say, it was good, or politely say, not for me? Or can you get detailed, like, the jumping felt weird? What is the right level to convey in that situation?
I talked about this on PB Bang.
Yeah.
I if I don't like it or I don't think it's good, I've never told anyone that. I've always lied.
I was going to
You have to
have
lie.
any of you said, like, given someone a criticism at a demo booth? Because I have never.
No. Maybe the closest I'd get is something like, oh, is this the final name for the game? Or like if there's something that's like really glaring, you know.
That's so Minnesotan of you, Ben. The passive aggressive question that's like actually like a pointed comment. I feel so culturally seen right now.
And you are obsessed with like names and the labeling of things. Like I feel like that's like your beat. If my beat is parrying, yours is like how things are titled.
I literally lose sleep about the lack of great key art for Resident Evil Requiem. Like, just what is the iconic like key art? There's nothing.
Yeah, what is
it's just
Yeah.
nothing. It's just
It's like teeth.
It's just like
Is it just like an eye? Oh no, it's the girl.
yeah.
Oh,
It's,
hi. Okay.
Sure. Here's a new character. It's a girl being scared. All right, sure. At least have her be in a cool pose or something. But
I was like, I try not to actually. I hate lying, so I actually try not to lie, and I do the same kind of hack you do, Ben, because we're the same. Where it'll be like, oh yeah, like, oh, it was different than I thought it would be. You know, it's kind of like something
There's
kind of
something.
innocuous, but like denying culpability. And I was talking on PB Bang about this that it'll air later, and Sarah was like, well, we don't really care to know because there's nothing we can do about it anyway. Like we just kind of want to. Like I think it's like how are you doing?
Yes.
You don't really want to know how I'm doing. You're kind of just
Right.
asking. You're being polite, and I'm gonna lob that back and say. Now, if they did press on me, like I'd said, like, oh, what's one thing that you think we could improve? I would answer that genuinely. But they never asked that. They just say, what'd you think? And I say, oh, it was cool. Like, all right, yeah. And I'm like, bye.
Well, see you later.
I slink away.
yeah, I mean, back
I crawl away.
at Game Informer is interesting, kind of the spread, because some people on the team would be like, you know, you're not paying me to be your consultant. You know, like I'm going to play the game and I'll be polite, but then I'm going to write about it the way I'm going to write about it for like previews and stuff, right? And other people are a lot looser with that, of just kind of like, yeah, why not just have a conversation about like, oh, I like this, I didn't like this. It's like, it's not exactly a burden. And maybe if there's some nudge, especially for like Game Informer cover stories, if it's early enough, and back in my day, they were pretty early, like maybe you could positively influence the game by having that level of feedback. But I totally get the idea that it's just like, it's so raw. It's so exposing for developers to let other people play the games that like it's terrifying to say anything.
If they added "tell me the truth," I would tell them the truth. But
Oh,
they never
that's
have added
good.
that.
All right, truth serum rules.
Yeah, I think it is totally just about the situation that they're in. You know, if they're seeing 300 people a day,
Yeah.
they're not in the right context for me to say like combat feels like it could be tightened up. You know, it's just like it's there are different places that you can give that sort of feedback, and like a show floor doesn't feel like that place.
Something that did actually surprise me about Gamescom was that some developers were kind of treating it as a chance to playtest with a ton of people.
Makes sense,
Because
yeah.
I think like for some smaller developers, like they might not get like, this might be the only or like one of a handful of chances where they're going to get like so many people like to try the game. And so like I was talking to a developer who was like, oh, how's your show been? And they were like, oh yeah, you know what? Like it's been really great. We've gotten so much great feedback. Like we're going to be able to improve the game a lot. And I like hearing that, I was honestly shocked because it didn't strike me as like Jacob was saying, like a play testing scenario, but that was kind of interesting. I hadn't seen that
makes
before.
total sense.
Or maybe it's literally just watching people play and being like, everyone gets lost here. You know, they don't know how to solve this puzzle. And so even if they're not saying it was hard to navigate, like they can just see it.
Yep.
They did have some QR codes too, to like Anna's point. Like I saw, especially the indie section, they had like a QR code to like a feedback form on like a lot of the games, where like some of them obviously were pushing wish lists. That's the number one thing people push, but feedback was probably the second big ask of on people's booths.
Yeah. You know, it'd be the greatest day of my life is if I could release a podcast, and when the podcast finished playing in the player, it automatically called my cell phone, that I could be like, hey, what'd you think? What'd you think? How'd that podcast go for you?
I'd hang up so fast if I got that call after recording a podcast.
Felix Davin says, hello, friends. Hello. Not friends. You just listen to us through yours, and we just live online.
And we call you after the show to ask how we did.
That's right, but we're not friends. They say, hello, friends. Anna, if you had complete financial freedom, if it turns out you were like the 6th member of Team Cherry and you were branching off, and you had 2 free days per week, what game media endeavor would you tackle?
So I don't even know if this would require 2 full days per week, but something that I've been thinking about a lot and something that I think would be really cool is like when I was a kid, like I didn't really know that like games journalism was like a thing that I could do. I just spent like hours and hours and hours like on Tumblr talking to people about games and like around other people who ran like video games blogs. But I was actually talking to Jan about this. We were walking around Germany, but I think it would be really, really cool to do like a youth-centered gaming publication, and so like have like young people be like the writers, do the art.
Oh, fun.
Because I just think like games media has been like so devastated, and the idea of like working with like a younger group of people who like maybe things will be, I don't know, maybe things will be a lot worse. Maybe things will be better by the time like they get to, just to be like, oh, this is like a thing that you can do, one. And then two, like, I don't know, just like orient work in a way that feels more like generative and like, I don't know, maybe a little bit more hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like would be my dream project. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a fun idea, and like, I don't know, maybe I'm too pessimistic, but the idea of like steering any kid towards, oh no, you can have a full-time job as a game critic. I feel like I wouldn't want to do that, but at least like harnessing their critical skills a little bit, you know, and like refining it, I think would be kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's less like, oh, you should go be a games journalist, but more like, oh, this is like a thing that you can do right now. Like this is like something that you can contribute to, and like a thing that you can like make if you're interested in it. Like it doesn't need to be like you're gonna go be a games journalist when you're older. It can just be like, oh, like writing is fun, making art is fun. And like so many, Minneapolis has like a youth pride, and like there's so many like young kids there who like are wearing like Sonic t-shirts and like anime t-shirts, and like I had like a Kirby shirt on, and that like excited so many kids. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, that would be really sick if I got to like support some kids like interest in like, you know, Kirby or Mario or something like that. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. Good pitch. Derek says, they ask, is Nintendo conceding a big chunk of the young kids demographic by becoming increasingly budget unfriendly? And is this going to bite them in the butt later? A little bit connected to the last question here, coincidentally. Yeah, it's a fascinating topic. I very much think so. Like Kit and Krista, the masters of Nintendo over there, they also had a podcast talking about this exact issue of, is Nintendo pricing out the younger age demographics? And they talked about like back in their day, you know, Iwata and all the higher ups were just scared S-less of the idea of like, oh my God, we're going to lose the entire kid market to mobile games and we can't compete. So I think it's a huge issue for them. The fact that it's like $500 for a Switch 2 and then here's $80 for Mario Kart, like that's not exactly mass market here for the kids to jump in.
It's an interesting question because I feel like it's like, yeah, it's a really expensive hobby for a kid to have. I feel like everything else has gotten more expensive faster. You know, like it's like, how much does belonging to a swimming pool cost? How much does like going to a gymnastics class cost? You know, like all of these things, which traditionally parents pay for, you know, the kid doesn't pay for their gymnastics class themselves, but like everything's really expensive, and it's not an excuse for games raising in price necessarily, but the fact that games have been the same price since 1995 or whatever, you know, I feel like it's more of just a question of how can anyone afford to live and have hobbies?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other piece that I'm concerned about this is like, I do personally kind of wish that, you know, the price points were more accessible to kids or their kids' parents, because in the end of the day, like these things aren't being priced for kids themselves, but like usually like the parents who buy them this. And so, or like grandparents who buy them this. And so, but like one thing that I think about is like, you know, with Roblox, like that platform is like normalizing like gambling and like loot box mechanics for like a whole generation of players. And that's something that like I am really concerned about. And it's like there is like a qualitative difference between playing Mario Wonder and playing, you know, a predatory, even if it's expensive to be part of a pool or like have any other hobbies, it's like games are made so cheaply and the churn is like so intense, like especially for kids, that it's like, okay, well, if this game like is free to play, then like I'm just gonna go do that, and then that's like this path. And so but
and I guess there is the route of, like, well, technically there is a free Mario Kart Tour mobile game if you want to play that one. So there is technically an entry point for some of this stuff. And I think the biggest thing Nintendo has going for it right now is the fact that Mario movie made $1 gazillion. And not only was the movie a hit and so many kids saw it and they've become indoctrinated into loving Mario because of it, but then like you look at like the ramifications of that, like what the McDonald's toys, the t-shirts, the merch everywhere, like just getting that fresh flush of Nintendo and Mario faces out into the world. A fresh flush, Janet? Is that a phrase?
It is now.
Yeah. But, just like, it just feel like it's reinvigorated some cultural love for Mario. And so I think they'll grow up liking Mario, even if they're not playing Switch 2, just because of the impact of that movie. And they're still trying with stuff like, their whole push for It's a Me Mario stuff, where you can get that free Switch and mobile game where you can stretch his face like in Mario 64, or they just release like a bunch of like stop motion shorts starring Mario and stuff. So they're trying these little dabbles in other fields, but it's tough, especially when they're like raising the price of the original Switch still. Like it's just a rough spot. Like that thing should be, $100 packed in with Mario Kart 8 at this point just to get them into the system.
Is that happening?
Yeah.
I somehow missed that.
Yeah.
They're raising the Switch price?
Yes, the Switch 1 price. Yep. God, it's brutal. Yeah. Holland Gas writes in, says, hey, Gamescommers. It has 3 M's. That's right. By the way, we pulled off our dream at the start of the year. Remember, we had a meeting of the dream of, okay, Gamescom this year, the boys go to Brazil and the girls go to Gamescom in Germany. Yeah. So it all worked out. We alphabetically nailed it geographically. So anyways, Holland Gas says, hey, so Love and Deep Space won Best Mobile Game at Gamescom this year. I have a feeling that Sarah wouldn't be happy if you ignored it, so I'm submitting this question to save your bottoms. Thank you. Otherwise, she will come to my house and hurt me. Does the success of Love and Deep Space mean the video game industry is headed in the right direction in terms of inclusivity? Do any of you care at all about Love and Deep Space?
So I've dabbled in Love and Deep Space. One of my best friends is like obsessed with it. So anytime there's like a special event, she'll come over and she'll be like, Anna, you have to play this event for Love and Deep Space because, we need to play the claw machine like with our boyfriend. I'm like, good. Okay, let's do it. But I think this question really stood out to me because this is something I've been like thinking about more generally in the culture. And like, I don't know, it's interesting because it's really cool to see like more feminine games like be celebrated. I don't know, like, so, and just like in the culture in general, like I was thinking about like, K-pop Demon Hunters being like the most watched Netflix movie ever. Like that is awesome. It's extremely exciting. It was like really happy to see that because like grew up watching, things like visually like Winx Club or like Totally Spies, and then to see like a movie like that be like so popular and acclaimed was like awesome. And then like we have like there's like this it's like created by a K-pop agency but like not technically K-pop group called Cat's Eye, and they're kind of like a global girl group, and like they're really popping off this year. And then we have like Love and Deep Space, and so I think like we're starting to see, I don't know, like industry is heading in I don't know if it means it's like the right direction in terms of inclusivity, because how inclusive is Love and Deep Space? It's like, if I remember correctly, like the developers like aren't super down with like queer shipping in the fandom. Really? Like we're getting like a really narrow like idea of like what is like a hot guy look like in that game.
I mean, it's like the cover art is like 5 Chinese guys of different hair colors.
Yeah. So I think it's like a bit of a stretch to be like, this is like, it means that like it's heading in the right direction. But at least like we're seeing like some, I guess, maybe like barriers being broken down a little bit. I don't know, a teeny tiny bit.
Yeah, to kind of add to what you said, Anna, like I actually saw like someone talking on TikTok about the not Love and Deep Space, but about the K-pop Demon Hunters. And it's like, oh, it shows that like when you market to girls or you like have girly pop oriented things, it sells a lot. And that's something I feel like we always know in every industry, and we just don't collectively care. And like, that sucks. I hate that. But I feel like people will see a really big win for something that's kind of like femme-coded or is popular like amongst girls and women and be like, wow, that made a lot of money. anyway, let's never do that again. And then everything, like so much of stuff is still just like very like men marketed. I don't know how many successes you need for it to really like turn the tides, but it is still nice to be in an era where there's a good chunk of these happening at one time, and maybe that will like help kind of spur that. But I think there's also the other angle of, and I don't know who all is involved in each of these projects, but I do have a vague memory of like I was playing a board game that was like a reality dating board game. Like that's what the board game was based on.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of like a, you know, femme thing. The art is very like cute. The box is pink. It's like made by all like dudes. And it's like, so there's also the other angle too of like, who's really like making the things that are supposed to be the like, oh, this is like kind of a radical, like fun, like it's for the girls, but is it by the girls? You know, it's like, what's that saying? It's like nothing for us without us or whatever, is kind of the line that gets tossed around. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not ready to celebrate yet, but I'm happy for the people that enjoy that kind of stuff, and hope to see more projects like that.
I would imagine if I was, you know, if I had been waiting my entire life to be catered to by the game industry, having all the big hit games also be slot machine games would be really frustrating to me. It's weird that, you know, or maybe it's not weird that it's like Infinity Nikki and Love and Deep Space and these other games that are like specifically marketed towards women are also like, yeah, you know, if you want to actually play the game, you're going to pay, you know, hundreds of dollars on lever pulls.
Yeah. I mean, Jenna, I'm still thinking about, your point about not learning the lessons. I'm trying to think like, the lesson that Hollywood learned from Barbie, has it just not been long enough? I'm trying to think of like, has a studio made a big push in Hollywood for like, this is like our Barbie? Is the lesson just
they're making the Uno movie, Ben?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, is it just we're making the Hot Wheels movie and crap like that? And it's like, okay, that's the takeaway. Instead of like, I don't think I've seen a studio like bet on women. I'm trying to think. There's got to be some film within the last year. I just can't think of what it would be.
For $1, name a woman. Yeah, I mean, and there's so many examples of that happening like over and over again. Like we haven't. The vending machine has yet to fall, but I've seen it shake a lot when we try to knock it over, kind of vibe. Maybe it's dark to say. I don't think it's going to change, but
yeah. I guess K-pop Demon Hunters is only a success if it's passing one metric, which is, has Jacob Geller watched it?
I watched it.
Woo!
You're welcome, women.
ally.
Thank you. What'd you think?
We'll edit that part out.
That was fun.
It was good.
Yeah, I could totally see why it is such a blast. Here is my problem. I don't listen to enough K-pop to have like be able to clock what the lyrics are fast enough. Like they were doing storytelling in the songs, and I was like, I don't know. You know, it's like when the main woman and man have like their duet, and it's like there's story happening here, but they're singing so fast that I like can't hear what they're saying.
Set your Netflix to 0.5 speed. I just need to keep up culturally, please. That's interesting. I want to watch it, to be clear. I tried to watch it last night, let the record show. My wife's like, I don't want to watch this. And I was like, what? So what am I going to do? Watch it by myself?
We don't have an Netflix
ally
right now.
You're
so.
ally for stopping that.
Yeah, and your wife's actually not an ally. Is your wife
I'll let her know.
Women or something?
I'll let her know.
Women love when when men say, you know, you're not really down for women.
Muffin Crumbs writes in. They say, hey crew, following your epic in-person meetup a few weeks ago, will MinnMax ever do a live audience for a MinnMax show episode? This is a good question. Thank you, Muffin. I care about this behind-the-scenes stuff. Probably at some point. I am always in the camp, and I saw some comments echoing the sentiment of every time I play a podcast and it's a live episode, I don't like that energy. Like if it's like a 10 out of 10 James Brown live level energy, there it is. But most of the time it's just like, oh, this is just going to be an episode of the podcast with slightly worse audio and everyone's going to be really nervous and rushed and weird. Right? And so I don't know if I want to inflict that upon listeners. Like fun for people in the room, but for listeners, it's like, I don't know if that's really worth it.
We do a live Tiny Desk. So the vibes are better. It's like slightly vibe, like somewhere in between like live and not in a giant convention hall.
Probably. Yeah. We just invite like 17 people to come stand in the studio and look at us as we record. Is that the idea?
Yeah. The community question winner is from like the past 17 episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think you're right in that it's a worse listener experience for people who aren't there, but like a concert recording is worse than an album, you know, if you are not at the concert and you just want to listen to the music. You know, it's like the reason for doing it would be fun to be there. And then, you know, for everyone else, it would be like a weird bonus episode.
But if you look
like,
at that pie chart is for the total audience that it's 1%.
Then why did we go and meet 0.1% of our audience in a bar? You know, the pie chart, it would have been way better to just make another video where we're all on Zoom.
No, because you're not, I guess if you're watching the travelogue and you're saying this is too noisy and loud and stupid at that bar, but I'm not hurting the content for the other majority of the audience by doing it.
Okay, well then record a live podcast and call it a bonus pod.
Okay, this attitude of yours, Jacob, has gotta go. Why are you so sassy?
It would be fun to do something
like,
fun.
Get the chair, and then you guys could like duke it out.
Yeah, no, in my mind, it's like, I think it'd be more fun. Like, I liked when we did the, it was in the bonus podcast feed, but when we did like the spelling bee at 2DCon and stuff. You know, like, I think like a live trivia tower would be more fun than a podcast episode, but I'm sure at some point we'll do a live episode of the podcast and I will eat my hat and have a blast.
I think that you're right that it would be a worse episode of the MinnMax show to listen to over headphones. I just think that you shouldn't view it as like a replacement for a normal episode.
Yeah.
You're just like, what would be a live event that we could do?
Yeah, you're right. There is a good overlap there for sure. Let's see. Zachary Sweet says, during the Minneapolis travelogue, Sarah made a reference to the show Taskmaster. This begs the question, why hasn't there been a new show plus option for a MinnMax version of Taskmaster? It's on the docket. It has been muttered.
It's been suggested.
I think we're all in that camp of like, is that a charge shot? What is it? To do it right, what would it look like? It's
logistically quite complex.
Yeah.
They have money at Taskmaster, and we got some money. I don't know if we got Taskmaster money. Maybe for one episode. It's one, but you can't vote for it again. It's a one and done. Maybe then we could pull it up.
Yeah, it would just have to be the Minneapolis crew. Yeah, there's a cheap new show plus-ish version of this with the Minneapolis crew that would be kind of fun. But it's kind of on that bubble of like not quite charge shot, not quite regular episode. It's a tough one to lock down, I think. Also, I know this is going to get me lit up. I don't love Taskmaster. I've watched like 3 episodes, and I'm like,
oh my god! So you were lying when I said, "How'd you enjoy the demo of Taskmaster?" You said it was great. What is this the final name?
Yeah, exactly. Taskmaster. So I don't like the in between stuff. Like the segments are fun. I just wish it was just that.
Why didn't you say this in the Airbnb when we were talking about it?
I was trying to be cool.
What are you afraid of, Hanson?
I don't want to get punched. Seneca Kier writes and says, what video game franchise has the best plushes? I don't want to hear any figurine business here. Where can I find the most delightful little friends to get cozy with? Seneca wants to know.
I mean,
yes, Anna?
Pokemon.
Please? Pokemon is the best plushes.
Yeah, and ideally, and they can be legit licensed or knockoff. They're all delightful. But it's like, Pokemon are like basically designed to be toys as they are, you know? Like they're 3D characters now and toys, you know? And
they have plushes of like every Pokemon at this point, right? Do you think? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Official?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say probably at some point. Maybe I'll look into this.
Maybe you'll look into it.
Maybe this could be a story. But I would be shocked to hear if there is any Pokemon that didn't get an official plush.
Because I remember talking to Game Freak when I visited, I think the first time, and I was talking about that idea of like, I think it was them talking about the plushes, yeah. And I was like, well, surely some like don't sell well. They're like, no, they all sell well. I'm like, what about like Venomoth? Who's buying a Venomoth plushie? And they're like, no, Venomoth is very popular. I was like,
yeah,
there's no way.
You're kind of like Venomoth's like, people like Venomoth.
Really?
Yeah,
who are
they
these
have like
people?
that emo energy to them. And they're one of the OGs too. So any OG is going to be popular.
Seal?
Oh, people love that Seal.
Yeah, Misty's Pokemon.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I guess
you gotta go deeper into the like Uggo bag of Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's not even like Uggo because like I think some of the ugly ones are like some of like the best designs. It's more like the most forgettable ones, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other plushes can compete with Pokemon, or is it just like obviously it's Pokemon?
Compete?
I mean, just like it's not really a franchise, it's just Kirby.
Yeah.
You know, like a Kirby
Yeah.
plush is great, but I don't need a King Dedede plush.
Right.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
But once Boomerang Jack comes out, whatever those Kirby Air Raiders characters are.
My money.
Please. All right, what do y'all like for question of the week? We got Silk Song, 0 reviews, cutest bad guy, demoing the game.
Ooh, cutest bad guy's a standout.
That's good.
I
We
like
had to
Silk
figure out
Song
what's hot and what's
cutest
cute.
bad guy. Yeah, those
Yeah.
are my 2 faves.
Okay. Anna, you're our most special
Don't make
person
me do
here.
this.
I
Don't
must.
make me do
I
this,
simply
Ben.
must. I simply must.
Don't make me do this.
You must choose.
I'm gonna pick cutest bad guy, not sexiest.
Or hottest. Congratulations.
Or hottest, yeah.
Truly, when it comes to writing in for community questions, Travis and Fargo is the cutest bad guy because you just won a prize. Congratulations, Travis. Now it's time for something that we like to call Get a Load of This. Hey, get a load of this. Weird Minnesota-based thing. But Penn and Teller, the famous magicians, they have been working together for 50 years. And they got their start at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, doing magic on the stage there. And so for their 50th anniversary, they went back and they popped up and did their old magic show at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, which is very cool. And they didn't have like an official recording of it, but there's like just somebody in the crowd recording it off their phone, which is still fun to see. And like Penn Jillette actually like slipped back into like his pants that he wore in his 20s when they were actually doing the show for the first time and
flex.
stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Same pants size.
He's lost a lot of weight, but yeah, it's not like a unbelievable performance or anything, but just cool. The idea of like, oh, that's how they celebrate 50 years together. It's like, let's go back to the actual place where it all started.
Is that where they met? Did they like how do they know each other?
They met because they were part of a group with like another third guy, and then they kicked him out. And so I think this is
Ooh,
after they
Destiny's
kicked
Child
him out.
vibes.
They transformed him into a rat.
Yeah, and he never came back, sadly. But link below if you want to check out that performance.
Get a load of this. I read last night the new Lost and Colt tome on immortality.
Yeah.
Which is most of those pages are the scripts of each movie in immortality, which is an incredibly cool thing to have. But then the last chunk of it is just like a great oral history of immortality, interviews with a ton of the people on the team, the actors, production, everyone. Here's a fact that I found really fun. They were filming the third movie in Immortality, 2 of Everything, which takes place in like 1999. And they were like, oh God, we have a scene where we just need to have like a bunch of extras in the background and they need to be dressed era appropriately. And we just don't have the budget for like a bunch of early 2000s clothes. And then they made a call. And the show Pen 15 had just wrapped filming, and they were like, we have literal warehouses full of like Jingo jeans and like spaghetti straps. And so they just went and got like a truckload of 90s or like late 90s, early 2000s clothes from Pen 15. And that's what you're seeing when you play that third Immortality movie.
Oh, funny. That's nice. Yeah, as it kind of fired you up about the concept of immortality again. Not, I guess, the concept, but the game itself.
No, like hearing them talk about it and like, God, there was a thing where the costumer was talking about how like she was leaving little clues in the costuming for like future events that like even Sam Barlow like wasn't aware of. And then she told him and he was like, oh my God. It was like just hearing how much passion went into that and just the kind of like it was a movie production and a game production makes it the perfect kind of oral history target.
Yeah, hang on. What is this? Not Weirder says the David Cornsweet, who's Superman, Man Engage connection is wild. What is this?
Yeah. Okay. I was because Man Engage, who plays what's the main character? Marissa Marcel's like in Immortality, the main character. I was like, what has she been doing? Why isn't she in more stuff? And she's in like a kind of indie movie that never got a wide release as far as I can tell called Real Live Girl. And it was directed by David Cornsweet, aka Superman.
Weird.
And she's the lead in it as far as I
funny.
can tell. And it's like, yeah, what was this project for, he did that, and then he was in Twisters, and then he was in Superman.
No wonder he had so many strong opinions on James Gunn's direction. I don't know if you watched that behind the scenes thing, but like the fact that he was a director himself, apparently. But God, when you're talking about Man Engaged, I thought you were talking about Travis Kelce. Am I right, folks? Man Engaged?
Topical.
Oh,
Thanks.
nice.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks, everybody. Is someone else?
That's
wanna
probably
go?
like Manon or something. I don't know how to say her name for real.
Get a load of this since you evoke sports, sort of vaguely, kind of. I'll do mine. Mine's a sporty one. It's just that Luka Doncic of the LA Lakers is collaborating with Overwatch 2 ahead of their new season because he is really good at Overwatch. He like last year or something was like top 500 for like, I don't know what he plays, but he plays a tank. And it's just kind of wild to think of, someone who's like at a really high level in basketball also being like, oh, I'm kind of like cracked at Overwatch. It's some people really can have it all.
It's true. It's a lot of time in the rooms between training, probably just playing Overwatch. That's cool. Links below for this stuff. Anna, wow us, please.
Get a load of this. I feel like there aren't as many nature documentaries like being made now than like when I was a kid. Maybe that's false. I hope someone calls me out and like sends me like 30 different like really dope nature documentaries after this. But I've been watching this YouTube channel called Smit Ocean, and I'm pretty sure they also do like a Twitch live stream, and they just like live stream like underwater excursions. And so there's like a bunch of different ones. So I just kind of like go on like whatever they've done recently. But a really, really cool one that's like pretty old is they just like dropped like a whole like lump of like dead like fish meat or something into the bottom of the ocean and then like stuck a camera there and like looked at like what popped by.
Perfect.
But it's like really cool because it's really relaxing, and like I really like learning about fish. It's really fun to see people be passionate about like ocean creatures.
Yeah, there's links below if you want to check it out. What's the name of it one more time?
It's Schmidt Ocean, and then I think
Schmidt
maybe
Ocean.
the Twitch channel is like different, but I'll send the YouTube because that's like obviously what you can go back and watch.
That's sweet. We have a Discord, which you get access to if you support us on Patreon and even the $2 tier. And all day, every day, people just share, get a load of thises that are excellent. And That's Mildly Raven has one that is, it is so far up my alley, I live there. But That's Mildly Raven said, between 2009 and 2012, iPhones had a built-in send to YouTube button in the Photos app. Many of these uploads kept their default name, which was IMG_number, creating a time capsule of raw, unedited moments from random lives around the world. And someone made a bot that crawled YouTube and found all of those videos that had ever been uploaded and made a website that plays them in random order. So you can just rapid fire through like raw, weird humanity between 2009 and 2012. And there's a link below if you want to check it out. It is awesome. It's just like, oh, here's a clip from a wedding. Here is some people fighting. Here's somebody really drunk in a laundry room. It's just like, it is just surreal. But I think it'd kind of be a fun new show plus if we all just like sat back and watched just like a full hour of these random YouTube videos. Or is that too voyeuristic? I don't know.
You might just have to like censor the stream.
At times, maybe if it pops up. Yeah, but I think it's worth it. All right, links below if you want to check all that stuff out. That is it for this episode of the MinnMax Show. Thank you so much for watching, listening, sharing, all that fun stuff. We got a ton going on. Bonus pod in that bonus podcast feed. If you support us at that $5 tier, you unlock that bonus podcast feed. And this week, it is more of Anna and Janet talking about their trip to Gamescom. If you want to hear more about the trip itself before the travelogue drops, you can unlock that podcast each and every week. If you join at that $5 tier, you also unlock the podcast version of the Deepest Dives. All of the backlog of Deepest Dives. If you want to hear Anna talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in a big way, that's in there. But then the new one, Metal Gear Solid Delta, which we're kicking off technically next week is when the first episode drops. And the first episode is going to be covering just the virtuous mission from the game. So the first like 2 hours of Metal Gear Solid Delta. But if you want to play along, you can also play Metal Gear Solid 3 because the game is so faithful. So that'll be dropping next week on YouTube and also in that bonus podcast feed. So please play along. We'd love to have you join in, please. But then also, it's been a busy week for New Show Plus because on Monday, we posted a New Show Overflow. When we hit our subs on Twitch, we create a bonus episode of New Show Plus. And for this one, we did something that some people in the community have been asking for, and it feels like we should have done a long time ago, and we've literally been trying to line it up for months, and it finally happened, and it's House Hunter Wilds. No longer this House Hunter Rise stuff where we just look at Zillow at house listings. House Hunter Wilds, it was Leo and Sarah and I actually going to a wild house in Minneapolis that's like a mansion from 1887.
It was so good.
Thank you.
I appreciate how much effort it took. Annie and I watched it together. It was great. It was peak content.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking to be like, oh, we only can get one house. It better be good. And it's like, okay, this house is interesting enough. And the more you dig into that house, it's called like the Hairy Leg House. It's like, oh, it has its own Wikipedia page?
Yeah, it's called the Hairy Leg House.
Awesome.
I feel like we didn't spend enough time on that.
Yeah. Also, you could buy it for under $400,000, and it is huge and wild. Not the best neighborhood. Other than that, it's a fascinating house. So check out that YouTube video if you want to check it out. Also on YouTube, you all voted for a charge shot last week for New Show Plus, where we kind of skipped a week and then did something bigger. And what we ended up doing was ranking all of the rides at Valley Fair, which is our amusement park in Shakopee, Minnesota here. That's one of my favorite places on earth. I love Valley Fair so much. And so it was Leo and Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb and our old coworker and current narrative designer at Firaxis, Ben Reeves. The four of us just went to Valley Fair and tried to go on as many rides as possible. Now, it is true that we were kicked out of the park, but you can tune into the video to find out what happened. It was.
You got kicked out of Valley Fair?
It was deeply embarrassing. Yeah. I thought it was a thing because I filmed at Disneyland, and it was never an issue of like holding my phone on the rides, recording and stuff.
You're not supposed to film at Disney though either.
Well, they didn't catch me. At Valley Fair, they were on it, and they hunted me down with cops and hauled my butt out of there.
Did you catch on video them hunting you down?
No, I felt like that was too gross. I was like, let me secretly record this. That feels like that's a level of
No,
kind of
totally.
Yeah.
I pictured you doing like someone coming up and being like, "Sir, you're going to put that down," and it just cuts. Kind of like the end of I wanted like the end of Sopranos vibe to it.
It kind of a little bit has that vibe, yeah.
That's hilarious because that video popped up on my feed, and my partner was like, "Oh, is that allowed? Like, that's hilarious."
Oh, no.
But like, I'm like, certainly that can't be allowed. And I'm like, well, obviously it is. Like, here's a video of Ben on Wild Thing. Like,
yeah, don't do
I guess
what
they're
we
just
did.
chill like that.
They're not chill like that. Or they're slowly less chill than you think. They eventually caught us. And I felt so awful. I just felt like entitled YouTuber, just like, ugh. They were all very sweet. You know, just like this feeling like, well, I did it because I thought we did it.
I can assure you there are worse places.
Yeah, worst places to film, I guess so.
Yeah.
But it's still a very fun video, and we got a lot of rides in, so you can check that out on YouTube if you want to see our dastardly deeds. We don't recommend it. Don't do it at home, everybody. But everyone should go to Valley Fair. It's the greatest place on earth. Otherwise, yeah, the Gamescom travelogue. I'll be editing that, and then it should be up in a couple of weeks, most likely. And then heads up again, next week, we probably will be holding the podcast back, maybe till Friday, so we can have some more time with Silksong, so we can talk about it in a good way on the podcast. And then Wall of Heroes, if you want to promote your passion project, jump in at the $50 tier, or if you just want a cute picture up there, a picture of your favorite game, it's a great way to support us and get your image seen 1 million times. But Ana Diaz, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anything you want to point people towards?
You can follow me on Blue Sky at Pokachi. And yeah, if I'm accessible via DMs there, if you have work opportunities for me, please reach out. My email is also anadiazwrites@gmail.com, but I'm currently looking for stuff. So yeah, if you're in need of a games journalist, writer, someone who knows this space and has been engaging with it very deeply for very many years, hit me up.
Sweet.
Cool.
Game Culture Writing. Check it out. Link below. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back next week. Until then, be good, have fun. Let's go.